Hi. Is this on? Can you hear me? Is this on? Yes? Help? I know. What am I supposed to do? I'm being mindful. I asked. What?
Did you switch it on?
No.
Oh, it's not on.
There we go.
Switch this on. Oh, it just doesn't switch.
It says on.
On, look.
Is that better? Okay. Now we're turned on. Very good. Well, I'm obviously honored to be asked to be the keynote speaker of the first UF Mindfulness Project Day. And I cannot imagine a more important topic. I view mindfulness probably, as I do with everything else in life, differently than others. I do not see it as a meditation technique. It is that, all right? Often the word mindfulness is used for what we call witness consciousness, subjective observation, just being aware enough to watch your thoughts, watch your emotions go by, and be aware of the world in front of you. I think that it is much broader than that, and that it really is something that you could argue is the most important piece of knowledge or knowledge that you could possibly learn. So let's take an example. So how do people define mindfulness? The simplest term that it's been used in is being present, bringing consciousness to bear. Those are new agey types of concepts that we talk about. Ram Dass did what? Be here now, right? Just bring your awareness of being into the current moment and be present. It sounds good, but to me those are just words and it doesn't really come all the way home. So I'd like to start with an example, because we're not the first people to use the word mindfulness. It has been used in the English language for a very long time. Let's say you're driving. Driving is an excellent example of how we can understand mindfulness. When you are driving, there are traffic lights. And I don't know if you noticed, but they change sometimes. And it is really important that you know that. Did you get it? All right. And also, in front of you, there are other drivers. I hope you noticed that. And they sometimes step under brakes. And these red lights come on in the back of the car. It's very important that you notice that. This is mindfulness. It's best that you be mindful when you're driving. When you go to change lanes, are you aware that even if you look in your mirrors that there's a thing called a blind spot? You best be mindful of that. So if somebody's teaching you how to drive, they might use that word. Be mindful of all times of what's going on around you. That is mindfulness too, all right? And it is exactly what we mean by being present in the moment and bringing consciousness to bear, all right? That's kind of neat, isn't it? So you really do know about mindfulness. What happens if you're driving and you're not mindful? You crash very, very quickly, all right? Aside from the fact that there are lights, there are other cars, there are blind spots, there are these things called curves in the road. It best be that you know that. That's funny, but do you understand what I'm saying? If you don't pay attention to this, if you are not present when you are driving, it will not take 10 seconds before you crash. Do you understand that? You are not, I mean, forget about this, texting and so on, right? I'm just talking about if you're not mindful. Or sometimes I say to people, let's say you're driving and somebody cuts you off, all right? Which is really important when we start talking about mindfulness. It's best that you notice it, all right? Now you're being asked to interact. You're being asked to be present and be present enough to decide what to do. What are your actions? I will ask you, is the amount of mindfulness that you bring to your driving going to affect the quality of your driving? How many tickets you get, how many accidents you get in, and how well you do? Let's say you're a race car driver. Could you use the amount of mindfulness that you bring to driving for driving at Daytona at 180, 200 miles an hour with 15 cars passing you? And the answer is no, you better not. Okay, you best bring a lot more mindfulness to the presence. And what that means as a race car driver, right, is that hopefully there is nothing else going on. You're not thinking about the fight you had with the wife. You're not worrying about this or that. You had best bring your consciousness to bear in what you are doing or you are in big trouble. All right? But it's not just in driving, because I'm going to put that aside. In that particular case, if you do not be mindful, you're in trouble. Not just as a race car driver, that's required more. So the more, I'm going to argue that the more professional you get, And the better you want to do, the more mindfulness you better bring to bear. Let's say you're an athlete. You're a golfer. You're playing baseball. Ever hear the term, keep your eye on the ball? Okay, is that not mindfulness? Is that not presence? There are professional league, I know in baseball, I heard, I don't know if it was Stan Musial or one of them, one of the great batters, used to say that when he would go to the plate, he would go into what's called the zone. Ever heard the term? That's mindfulness. That's complete mindfulness. In other words, there is nothing else going on but the pitcher, the ball, and the presence of the bat. And literally, some of them have said, and great boxers have said it too, right? That when they go in that state, everything goes into slow motion. That literally, there's so much awareness that is brought to that moment that it is as though you are super conscious, right? And you can see the seams on the ball and et cetera. I'm not talking about an altered state of consciousness. I'm just saying you are so much more conscious that your experience of the moment has literally changed. That's mindfulness. Isn't it neat? So you do know something about it. But the main thing that I want to bring to it is whether you're talking about sports, whether you're talking about driving, right? The more consciousness you bring to bear, I like that term, right? I can use it because we're using examples. Isn't that bringing consciousness to bear in the current moment? The more consciousness you bring to bear in the current moment, the better you are at what you're doing. Anyone want to argue that? Right? Just take the extremes. Don't bring any. Okay? And by the way, as students, some of your students, all right, you might find yourself in a classroom and there might be a professor giving a lecture. I want to know whether you think it's going to affect how well you do in that class, how well you are listening to what that person is saying, or whether you are off doing something else instead of being present, like when you drive, etc. It's the exact same thing, isn't it? So it's no different than keep your eye on the ball. If you were to pay attention, I think of a story, some of you know I had a business background, and I don't want to do it big, and I've never talked about this, but I remember sitting at a table, it was a big merger that was going on, and I was sitting next to the CEO, chairman of the board, and this was multi-billion, big stuff. And on the other side was the other people, and on this side was our people, and I basically, the other side was talking, and I turned to this gentleman. He's a billionaire, regular business person, right? And I made a comment. I just said, that's interesting. And the guy turned to me just for a second. He said, stop it, I'm concentrating. And I looked at him, I didn't realize, that man, I wish I could meditate. Don't laugh. He was paying attention to every word that person was saying to make sure that he was going to get the edge. Do you understand that? To make sure he did not miss one single place that later he could do something, manipulate. I'm not saying it's good, I'm not saying it's all good stuff, all right? But basically this idea that you are going to be better at what you are doing if you're there. What do you think? Okay, all right? And that's mindfulness. Isn't that neat? That's mindfulness. It's the willingness to say, there is a task at hand. I'm not going to tell you what the task is. You say what the task is. All I'm telling you is if you learn to be mindful, and you can learn to be mindful, that's what's nice about it. I don't want people coming here and say, oh, I'm not good at that. Do you understand that? Well, I always tell everybody, when you walk into calculus class for the first time, and the teacher says, now you're in calculus, don't raise your hand and say, I'm in the wrong class. Why? I don't know anything about calculus. You're not supposed to know anything about calculus. You're supposed to learn. We have this word called learn. Right? You are the most intelligent species. I know we don't act like it, but you are the most intelligent species in the entire planet. All right? You have the ability to learn. Dogs can learn to drive cars. They can learn to do rollovers. All kinds of stuff goes on. You can learn anything you want. Do you understand that? Doesn't mean you can be the best that ever lived. You want to play the piano? Learn. You want to play tennis? Learn. Right? You want to learn to be mindful? You want to be mindful? Learn. So don't talk to me about the fact that I'm not good at that. I don't, right? You just take it on, and what I want you to get from this discussion is, yeah, I want to do that. I'm not going to teach you how to do it. I don't teach how to do it, right? But I want to teach you to want to do it and to realize that this is not some little exercise. It's not, oh boy, I'll go meditate a little bit. It looks neat. It's a little fun. It'll quiet me down a little. No, this is your life. If you are not present, you miss your life, all right? And you are better at every single thing you do, the more consciousness you bring to bear. And there are extremes at it. For example, let's take art, music, all right? If you are truly a musician, when you are playing, you are not present. But you just said you want to be present. You are so present in that music that you lose yourself in it. You should not be there. Do you understand that? You don't even know where you went. It became, in the yoga scriptures, they talk about it. It sounds so mystical. Buddhism talks about it too. When subject and object become one. You ever heard that? Right? That's the deepest state of, Patanjali talks about that in Yoga Sutras, right? When subject and object become one. That is that state in music. I wanted to bring it down to everyday life, right? Golfers talk about that, again, the zone, where it just happened, it just flowed. I didn't do it. I was just one with it. But music does that, doesn't it? You can just merge in the music and you go away. And then you come back and it's like, whoa. Another thing, some of these things, aside from that discussion with the chairman, I was watching when Vladimir Horowitz was invited to go back to Russia after the fall of the Iron Curtain and everything. There was a concert he played. Many of you may have seen it. And I saw a video of it. And there was just this little old man sitting up on a stage with this giant St. Petersburg or somewhere's auditorium. The beauty of it was not what he was playing. They were panning the audience, and I'm telling you, I've never seen such a thing. Tears were uncontrollably pouring down the eyes of almost all the people in that auditorium, right? Just pouring, it's like a waterfall, just pouring off. What is that? Because he went into that state, it literally brings others into that state. That is the beauty of art. That's what that's about, right? You're touching a deeper place within yourself, right? And we're gonna talk about that. So now do you understand my idea of mindfulness? This is nice stuff, all right? And by the way, it wasn't just Vladimir playing, all right, or the musician. Ever hug someone you love? Ever melted? You got real quiet. Ever hugged someone you loved and didn't? It's not so easy, is it? Not so easy to lose yourself, is it? Okay, but it's really beautiful when you do it, isn't it? Right? It's the peak experience. It's Maslow's peak experience, right? When you it's self-actualization. When you lose yourself in what you're doing, that, funny as it sounds, that's the most mindful. Funny, right? It's because you're 100% of your consciousness is focused on what you're doing. There's no distractions. There's nothing pulling you anywhere else. You become one with what you're doing. Ever read a book and realize you didn't understand a single thing, you have to go back 4 pages? That's not mindfulness, right? And have you noticed that if you concentrate when you are reading, you'll remember that forever, right? There are poems you have read, there are songs you have heard, right? Why is it that after 30 years you remember the words of your high school songs that you liked? Because you were willing to be present with them. You gave so much of your awareness to them that they left indelible, deep impressions inside. You don't have to worry about memorizing or doing this stuff. If you are open, if you are present, if you bring consciousness to bear, you are better at every single thing you do. You understand that? Including relationships and finances and every single thing. It's not just sitting in a corner and trying to enter some higher state of consciousness. All right. If you were to ask me, that's getting interesting, how do you do that? Right? I approach it very differently than other people. I'm weird, all right? I don't want you to walk away from here thinking the following. Well, I'm not mindful. Okay, I got lots of stuff going on when I'm driving, okay? I always think it's funny that they talk about the texting. Are you kidding me? What you do in your mind is so much more distracting than your texting. All right, they should make that against the law, all right? I mean, come on, you can sit there and drive from Alachua to Gainesville, and you don't even know how you got there. Did you? All right, it was kind of on autopilot. I hope it made it, all right? You're just not present. So the question becomes, there's 2 ways to go about becoming more mindful. One, which is what most people try to do, is to say, I'm not mindful, let me be mindful. I'm eating, let me see, I'm picking up, nothing wrong with that, right? I'm practicing mindfulness. Buddhists say, when you eat, just eat. When you walk, just walk. I'm paying attention to my feet falling on the ground. I'm paying attention to the food coming in my mouth. That's very beautiful. And if I talk about alternate ways, I'm not saying there's anything wrong with any of the other techniques. Anything you do is better than not doing anything. That's how non-mindfulness works. You understand that? You are to work on yourself. If you work on yourself, it is like investing in yourself. You get better at everything you do. All techniques are beneficial. Somebody once said, if you take a $50, put it in your right pocket, and every 15 minutes take it out and put it in your left pocket, then take it out and put it in your right pocket, you'll become enlightened. Over time. All right? Because you're practicing mindfulness. You have to pay attention. You have to bring your consciousness to bear at what you're doing. So get this straight. Everything's fine. Whatever techniques you're using, if they work for you, it's wonderful. I said there's two different ways to approach it. One is to say, I'm not mindful, I need to become mindful. That's a willful, very Western way to do things, all right? There's another way, and I like it. It's what I've always practiced, right? Why am I not mindful? Not what do I do about the fact that I'm not mindful? Why am I not mindful? Why is that not my natural state of being? Why do I have to do anything about being here, right? Like when people say, be here now, well, where else are you going to be? Be there then? I don't know. But yet it has meaning. So you stop for a moment, and this becomes a very interesting discussion, right? Why am I not mindful? And the answer, first of all, is, and again, I'll go fairly fast. You can research whatever you want. You are always conscious. It is not that you're not conscious. It's what you're conscious of. Consciousness, an object of consciousness. Consciousness is always there. When you go to sleep, you're conscious. That's why you see your dreams. Is it the same you who see your dreams as you who wakes up and says, you should see the dream I had? It's not like there's a continuity of consciousness, isn't there? Right? Well, what if you're not dreaming? You're not in REM state. You're in a very, very, very deep sleep. You wake up, and sometimes you say, oh my God, I slept so deep. It was so peaceful. I didn't even have any dreams. How do you know? I'm asking you a question. How do you know? Because you were there. In the Yoga Sutras of Patanjali, very deep writing, he says, you are never not conscious. When you go into deep, deep sleep, it is not that you are not conscious. You are conscious of nothing. And that's why it's so restful. In other words, there's no object. You're conscious of nothing. But the consciousness is still there. And the funny part about it is you know that because you come back and talk about it. You understand that? You have, it's kind of it's neat. So mindfulness is not about that you get more consciousness, right? It's about where is your consciousness, okay? And that becomes, why are you not always present? Well, there must be something else that's another object of consciousness that is capturing your consciousness, that is keeping you from being present. You must be getting distracted, right? That's what we call it, right? What does distract, our words are so powerful. What does distracted mean? My awareness was on this object, and all of a sudden another object caught my awareness. Oh my God, it's like catching a ball or fishing, all right? It caught my awareness, it caught my attention. They're all saying the same thing, right? So an object can pull your attention toward it, can't it? All right? That's why you're told when you're driving and your cell phone beeps, smartphone beeps, and it's a text, right? Bring your awareness back to the road, okay? Because it's been a proven fact that the amount of consciousness, awareness that it takes to put your consciousness on the object of that phone in text is out of the question. I hope you know that, by the way, all right? It is out of the question. There's all kinds of things you can do, right? You can take a sip of soda, right? But you cannot text because it takes full awareness to push those little buttons. And if that brake light goes on, or if that, I don't need to talk about it. You see that? So what you're being asked to do is if it buzzes and rings, whatever it is, right? You will notice that it draws your consciousness to it, doesn't it? So objects of consciousness can catch your attention. They can draw your attention toward them. And part of mindfulness is you bring it back. See, that very act of not texting while you're driving is practicing mindfulness. And it's a good one to practice because you won't have to be here very long if you don't. Isn't this neat? Okay? Mindfulness is a very practical thing. It is just a question of, are you just doing it because you know I shouldn't listen to the phone? Or are you realizing the more conscious I bring to bear, the better off I am at every single thing I do? All right? So I want to work with this. So the question is, what is it that's catching your attention, keeping you from being mindful? Because we're not mindful. All right? You're going to notice that when you start paying attention to it. And what you're going to find out is way more distracting than your little smartphone or anything else is your mind. My mind, your thoughts. You do have those, okay? On the road, there's lights, there's cars driving, but that's not all. Those are not the only objects your consciousness can become aware of or distracted by. I'm driving and all of a sudden I remember, that I had an argument with somebody this morning and trying to think what I should have said and what they said and what do they mean by that anyways, and should I call, and is that just me or do you have that affliction also? Okay? And so there are these self-created objects called thoughts. They go on inside of you, right? I don't care that scientists may or may not be able to measure them or do anything like that, right? You know they're there, don't you? And so does everybody else. So your mind, let's just do it this way. Your mind has the ability to create thoughts. I won't get in trouble with that, right? I don't want to get into neuroscience. Believe me, I don't, all right? I just want you all to admit that you got something in there, which we call mind, that creates these things called thoughts, all right? And they're distracting, aren't they? They're distracting. They pull your awareness toward them, and your consciousness, right, then gets drawn away. It's all a question of how you're splitting your consciousness. You're multitasking, all right? So when your thoughts are created, your consciousness pays attention to them, right? Some thoughts are benign. You drive by, you see a tree, and the mind will just say, oh, there's a tree. Well, I don't know why I bothered saying it. I had a whole discussion about it. I already saw the tree. You don't have to tell me, all right? But he likes telling me, right? So, right? Oh, look, the lines are white that are going by. Well, those things, they don't distract me very much. They just come and go. But there are some thoughts that are quite distracting. And those are what I want to talk about. Because if you want to become mindful, and you do you hear me? I don't know if I succeeded in telling you and you're understanding that you do. You want to become mindful because it's like having a better life. It's like being more alive. No money can buy you this. Do you understand that? That's why rich people have to go out and do more things because they're not mindful. They're too caught up in themselves. And so they got to go jet set and buy things. And it's not the person who has the most toys, right, when he dies wins. It's the person who is most mindful and enjoying the experience of their life. Forget enjoying, even experiencing the experience of your life. If you're missing the experiences of your life, you don't feel alive. That's why you have midlife crises. That's why all of it happens. That's why you have to run around and do all kinds of stuff. Because you miss your life. It's pretty easy to miss your life, isn't it? Right? Why do I miss my life? Because you get involved in your thoughts. Okay? So what happens is there are some thoughts that you have that are different than trees going by or white lines going by. They are what we call very personal thoughts. Your mind is very interesting. It has a way of serving you personal thoughts. Okay? Why couldn't I get that? He got that. I should have got that raise. He shouldn't have got that raise. That's not even fair. This world's not fair. I don't even like it here. I think I'm going to leave. I'm going to quit. What are those? Those are not you. That's not your consciousness. Those are thoughts that you're aware of. You are aware of them or you're not, right? If you weren't aware of them, there wouldn't be a problem, right? Your mind is creating thoughts. Your consciousness is being drawn to those thoughts. Therefore, you are paying attention to them instead of paying attention to the reality of what's unfolding in front of you. Have you ever done that? Anybody guilty? Okay. And what you're going to find out when you practice mindfulness, when you pay attention, is this is way bigger than anything I feel bad telling you about it. Right? It's like sometimes people will come to me and say, first it was fun, now it's not. Right? We talk about objective observation. Now we're getting to the traditional mindfulness, right? Krishnamurti called it objective observation. Other people call it witness consciousness. What I would like you to do as your first, hey, we're in school, I get to give you lessons. All right, I'm going to give you some homework. The first thing you do is not go in there and try to change. I told you, it's not a matter of using will there are forces that are causing you to be non-mindful. Why not deal with those instead of forcing mindfulness on top of the forces that are forcing you to be non-mindful? Do you see the difference? Mindfulness should be totally natural. There's no effort. It's an effortless thing. But there's something wrong. There's something that's distracting you from being mindful. So basically, your first step is witness consciousness. It is to step back and say, all right, I'm going to take a shower. You take showers? I know you do. All right. I'm going to make any comments. All right. Basically, I'm going to go and take a shower. I'm begging you. I'm asking you. Right? I would like, just once, you will not like me if you do this. I would like you, before you get into that shower, to say, oh, Mickey said to pay attention to my thoughts, right? I'm just going to take a shower. Pay attention to your thoughts. I beg you. Just watch the thoughts that get created in your mind while you're taking a shower. And then come back and tell me about it. Or tell anyone about it, your husband, your wife, anyone, because you won't. Do you understand that? There is not one of you that would permit me to put my magic stethoscope up against that mind and then on the big jumbotron, every single thought that is being created inside that mind, you gonna let that go up there? Not a chance in the world. And that brings up all this interesting stuff, right? Where do the thoughts come from? Anyways, right? Why am I having these thoughts? Well, I'm not doing them. I don't know about you. I mean, I can make it think. I can say, 16 times 12. I can make it remember somebody's name. Sometimes, very rarely, I put my hands on the wheel and drive. But usually it just goes by itself. How about you? Does it not create its own thoughts? It just creates thoughts. It's like the mind's a thought-making machine. It just, right? And it's fascinating. So witness consciousness, part of mindfulness, is to step back and say, I am not creating these thoughts. I'm not. They are creating themselves inside my head. These thoughts are, I'm the one who's watching the thoughts. I'm the one who's noticing the thoughts, okay? But they're being created by whatever force in the universe creates thoughts. And we can talk about that. It only takes 2 seconds. It's very easy to understand where your thoughts come from. That is not complicated. It may be hard for the neuroscientists to figure out the pathways and the I don't care. I couldn't care less, not one iota. All right? It is easy to understand why your mind creates the thoughts that it does. You have had past experiences, right or wrong. Some of those experiences were pleasant. Some of those experiences were not pleasant, right? I guarantee you the ones that were not pleasant and the ones that were very pleasant are still in there. They left impressions on your mind. That's the data in the computer of your mind. And what is going to happen is that data is going to regurgitate right back up, right? When you see something outside, it'll remind you of what happened when you were 12. Yes or no? If somebody talks, it'll remind you what mommy said, and then you'll be thinking about this. And it's just all right? Skinner said, man is the sum of his learned experiences. He's wrong. You are the one who's watching your mind be the sum of your learned experiences. Can I repeat that? BF's not going to like me, all right? I love him. It's beautiful. He learned something very great, right? Just like Freud. He studied things and he saw that, wow, that's your learned experiences talking in there. But that's not who's listening to them. You are in there, are you not? You do notice that your mind talks. Who are you? You're not the sum of your learned experiences. You are the consciousness who is aware that your mind is talking about the sum of your learned experiences. And that is all your mind talks about, is the sum of your learned experiences. Do you understand that? The only thing the computer can do is take the data it's got. The only thing you have is the sum of your learned experiences. And what's really neat is every single one of you have a totally different set of data. I only have an hour, so I have to be disciplined. That is a fascinating talk, right? You all think you all look different? You might as well look like identical twins compared to how different that mind is inside. Because since you were born, you've had totally different experiences than that person over there, and your husband or your wife. You think you know somebody? There's not a chance in the world. That's why you have so much trouble with your relationships. You think they're supposed to be like you. They're not anything like you. Oh, can you understand that? If it's true, if psychology is true, and what's going on in your mind is the sum of your learned experiences, no two people that ever walked the face of the earth have ever had the same experiences. Not even close. Do you understand that? It's kind of neat, isn't it? All right? And so you sit there and you realize that's what's going on. I just spent a minute with it. We can study it. Untethered Soul talks about it in great detail about where those thoughts come from and how to deal with all that. But for now, are you willing to understand that you have had experiences, and those experiences have left impressions on your mind? And that's the data your mind is using, that when you see something, it reminds you of something. You see something, you like it. Every one of your likes and dislikes. Do you understand that? You are not deciding what you like or dislike. Your past experiences are deciding. If they took your blue blankie away too early, you don't like blue. If you had the blue blanket and they left it till you were done with it, I love blue. Right? So your thing about how you feel about something, your thing about what you like and what you dislike, that is not you. It is something that this mind that has had these impressions made on it is spewing out because of that's how the mechanism works. Does everybody understand that? Does that make sense to you? All right? You are the consciousness that is noticing that the mind is doing this. And what the teachings of mindfulness, the traditional ones, are saying, please be that. That's all witness consciousness is. Please pay attention while you are taking the shower that you're not washing your body. Most of you have never washed your body. You have this body, right? What a gift you were given, right? You wash the dog. When you're washing the dog, you wash the dog, right? Your body, you kind of like, you're there thinking what you're going to do, where you're going to go, what happened yesterday. You're totally in your mind. No, I swear, a shower is one of the hardest places to remain conscious. All right? It's just all these thoughts are being generated, right? You go from high to, oh, by the way, I wanted to ask you, we talk about wanting to be happy and not be depressed and have a nice life. Have you noticed that those thoughts affect that? Have you noticed that if you're taking your shower and you get into the shower and we're doing really nice and all of a sudden you're taking the shower and you drop the soap and you remember the time you dropped the soap and you got yelled at because your sister was taking the shower and then you remember how your parents got divorced and then all of a sudden you're depressed when you walk out of the shower? Wow, a shower is tough stuff. This is very important. This is your life. That's why I say mindful is it's not a meditation technique. It's the most important thing you will ever learn in your entire life. It solves it is either the whole problem or the whole solution. That's up to you. So basically you start noticing, that's your technique, you just start what we call objectively observing that your mind is going to create these thoughts. Don't feel guilty about it. I don't care what they are. It doesn't make any difference. You're not doing it. I don't want you to feel you're doing it, right? There's a movie going on in front of you, right? I don't know where it came from. It's not my business. It's not my fault what experiences I had. Do you understand that? All right? And so basically you learn to just watch these thoughts. And what you're going to do is freak out because you're going to sit there and say, OMG. No wonder. No wonder I'm such a mess. And no wonder I've messed up every relationship I ever had. I mean, those thoughts are, whoa. And they come up with some very interesting solutions. So first real quickly, first thing they do is decide there's a problem. There are no problems. Look at me. There are no problems. A problem means that something is happening outside that you don't want to be happening. Somebody else wants it to be happening. Your problem is somebody else's solution. You understand that? You define the event as a problem. It's not a problem in and of itself. It's the natural result of what's unfolding in front of you. But your mind decides, I don't want this, I don't like this. Then it's a problem. So first it creates the problem, thank you so much, right? Then it spends the next 3 months, or 5 years, or 20 years, trying to figure out what to do about it, okay? And once it figures out how it has a solution, I'll move. This is all your mind, right? First it defines the problem, right? I can't meet the kind of people that I'm looking for around here, right? I think I need to go, I literally had a friend tell me, right? I'm not finding the kind of women that I want to meet. I want to go up to Boston, either for Harvard or this or that. They got all these very intellectual things up there. I have more of a chance he did a study, the probability of meeting somebody that is my intellectual equal or something, right? And I figured if you're thinking like that, I don't want to think about your intellectual equal because you lost it. So, but you hear what I'm saying? That's what we do, isn't it? And then we come up with these solutions. Then we have to think about how we make them happen. They don't just happen because you thought about them. And next thing you know, you have devoted your life to your neurosis. You have devoted your life to these thoughts that are being created in your mind that you don't even know where they're just your past coming back like ghosts. Literally. You understand that? All right. So you start watching, and what you're going to notice is that the reason you're not here now is because you're there now. Do you understand that? So it's not a matter of forcing, oh, do this. You can do that. It's good, right? It's a matter of saying, do I want to deal with the problem? I have a problem. Don't I? I have a problem. Can I deal with the problem? The answer is absolutely. What would it be like if I dealt with the problem? All right, let's talk about what healthy sounds like. because you're capable of being, a lot of you work with your diets, don't you? Right? You've changed, you don't eat Twinkies anymore. I think they went off the market or something, right? All right. All right? You guys have been good. But what are you doing with your mind? You think it doesn't matter that the mind is creating those thoughts? What does it mean when someone's lost in depression? I guarantee you their mind's not saying zippity-doo-dah, right? Their mind is in there telling them, oh my God, I've tried everything, it's ridiculous, why would I even bother? There's not a single person that committed suicide that their mind did not tell them to do it. Look at me, touchy subject. Do you believe that? Do you understand that? Not a single person ever, right? Suicide's not an accident. By definition, suicide means you did it purposely on yourself, right? Your mind told you, right? I've tried everything, this is not going to work, it's never going to work. Why would I even bother? That's what's going on. Those are thoughts being created in your mind. Maybe you best deal with this. You hear me? Like I said, this is not a joke. Your mind is going to create these thoughts because of the impressions you have stored inside of you. Somebody once raised their hand at one of my talks and said, and it was like this deep question, but I only had a minute left, and said, well, why is the mind so negative? You might notice it is, right? Why would the mind be like that? Why is the mind naturally so negative? It takes 30 seconds to answer that question. It's kind of neat, isn't it? Right? I want to ask you a question. You have had, every one of you have had experiences in your past that were not pleasant. Yes or no? Okay? So since they were not pleasant, and you didn't really want to experience them, right? You just let them go and got them out of there quick, right? No, you stored them. Every single experience that ever happened to you that was not pleasant, you kept, didn't you? Right? Some people collect coins, some people collect stamps, you collect bad experiences. But you do. It's not all that funny, right? You do collect, right? Every bad experience that ever happened. Well, what do you expect is going to come from the room where every smell you ever smelled in your life that was putrid, you stored it, took it home, and shoved it into a room? Now go in the room. What's it going to smell like? It's going to stink, right? That is what's going to happen. If you store every single experience that ever happened to you that was not pleasant inside of you, and then wonder why the smell is what it is. Wonder why it keeps spitting up this negative stuff. That's why. Do you understand that? It's getting real quiet. Okay? It's so important to understand this. This is your sanctuary. You're the only one in there. There's nobody else in there. Out here, you got to compete for things. You got to buy things. You know, it's free of charge, right? You are creating your inner environment. It is your mind. Have you noticed that your mind thinks a certain way and all of a sudden your emotions follow? Every single time. Well, then maybe you best pay attention to your thoughts. Maybe we best be working with this. That's mindfulness. It's getting serious, isn't it? Okay, so far we've talked about how successful you are at your career, at your relationships, at every single thing you try to do, and now we're talking about your entire inner state of being, whether you're okay, whether you're happy, whether you like things, whether you're enjoying your entire life. You can't enjoy your life if you have stored inside of you every single thing that ever bothered you. Why? Because you're going to remember that you didn't like it and you're going to try and make sure it doesn't happen again. You've just ruined your life. Do you understand that? All right? You can't experience the moment that's unfolding. You're busy. Now what you've done is I can't experience the moment that's unfolding because I have a way I need it to be. And I have a way I need it to not be. And now all of a sudden you're fighting with life. That's why you're tense. This answers everything. I could just keep talking, right? That's why there's tension. That's why there's anxiety. That's why your muscles are tight. That's why you feel stress. That's why you say it's overwhelming. Because you have stored this mess inside of you. It doesn't sit in there quietly, period. Do you understand that? It tries to release, and it just comes up at all the wrong time. Okay? And therefore, you're so afraid of it, you don't want to experience it again, that you've defined how everybody and everything needs to be for you to be okay. Yes or no? And now you're out there struggling. Instead of enjoying your life and appreciating life and being present with life, you're fighting with life to try and make it be a way that doesn't stimulate that junk that you stored inside of you. All right, if you will watch your thoughts, like I said, this may sound interesting, but you're going to go through a stage where you don't like me. Okay? All right. In fact, sometimes people come to me and say, I was fine before you told me to look. No, you were not fine before I told you to look. You just had not noticed. All right? So, and by the way, now we're talking mindfulness. What I just said there, you just hadn't bothered to notice. Mindfulness means notice, doesn't it? Right? In the traditional way they're using it now, right? The different great writers about mindfulness, they're saying, please take the time to notice. By the way, it doesn't take time and it doesn't take money, does it? People say, I don't have the time. The time to what? Be there? Right? The time to pay attention to the fact that you've got this mess going inside and you're running around, dumping on everybody and doing. All right. So your first thing you do is you watch. Don't do anything about it. Don't try to change your thoughts. I'm teaching you. I don't give techniques, right? You learn to watch. Get to lay of the land. Like anything else, any project you would do, the first thing you do is orient yourself. Correct? That's what witness consciousness is, orientation. Take a look at the lay of the land. Get an idea of what's going on in there. And it's going to freak you out. Relax. That's the whole answer. I'm telling you. Do not feel responsible for your thoughts. Did you hear me? Do not feel responsible for your thoughts. They are not your fault. You did not dial up, one from column A and two from column B. Do you understand that? Events took place. You did not deal with them well. What do you mean? If you deal with it well, you let it come and go. You let it come and go. You experience it, pleasant, not pleasant, whatever it is. You get married, it's beautiful. You get divorced, it's ugly. All these different things happen, right? And you move on. You learn from them. You have experiences. You grow. You become a wholer person. Do you understand that? That's what happens when you have experiences. The fact that you took a class means you know more than before you did. The fact that you had an experience means you know more. You are wholer. You are a greater being because you had an experience. And if you didn't, and that goes for every single experience you can ever have. That's what it means to be healthy, doesn't it? Not too many of us are too healthy, are we? Okay? You're here to learn. You're learning. Every experience is teaching you something. So if you're willing to let it come in and merge into your being, then it becomes part of you. We say we can play by heart. You have to memorize it, right? Life is teaching you, and you become a wholer person. But we don't do that. What we do is if something is not pleasant, we suppress it. Write down Freud. We push it away. And if something's pleasant, we cling to it. That's a Buddhist term. We cling to it. We don't want to have the other experience. We want to have that one. So you're missing the rest. And the next thing you know, you're struggling with everything. So healthy means you learn that as experiences unfold in everyday life, this is how you start. First, you pay attention and you notice, and it's not going to work. That's what you should notice. Do not judge your thoughts. It's very important. Do not judge your thoughts. They're just like if you go to a movie that somebody made. It's a movie, I didn't make it. That's how I want you to look at your thoughts. They're passing in front of me, right? I mean, your dreams, you do it. People tell me their dreams. I like telling me their dreams. I don't know, right? And sometimes they're really weird, and they laugh. You see what happened in the dream, right? I was a guy. I'm a girl, but I was a guy in the dream. It was really weird. I was a weird guy too, all right? It's like, and there's no problem talking about it. That's just something your mind made up, isn't it? It's just your mind just made up a dream. Why do you think that's funny? And when your mind makes up all this stuff when you're awake, you think, oh, I'm so embarrassed. How could I think like that? Oh. No, don't do it. Just basically understand your mind is making things up. Think of those thoughts, right, as your waking dreams. Because the mind makes your dreams, doesn't it? Well, the mind is doing that. And just see it as an object. It's a thought-making machine. And you are the awareness who is aware of it. That's the healthy state. And then what you're going to learn is events are going to unfold in front of you on an everyday basis, right? And you're going to start to say, thank you. What do you mean? I get to have the experience I just had. It's okay with me. Somebody beeped at me when I was looking at my phone at the light and I didn't go. All right, well, I know that's tough. Life is tough down here, right? That's a hard one, okay? The mind's are, right? And you need to learn to let that go, right? Somebody doesn't say hello. A friend of yours walks by and did they see me? Did they not see me? Or did I do something wrong? Did they find out what I said to George? Oh my God, what should I call George? What are you doing? You're sitting on a planet spinning through the middle of empty space being neurotic. Right? And so you learn that your mind has a problem. We already know that, right? The mind can't not have a problem. Why? Because you stored every single thing that ever bothered you inside of it, and then told the mind to figure out how to make the world be so that it doesn't bother you. I swear to God, in 2 sentences I just told you, that is what you've done. And so the mind stays up day and night. That's why you can't fall asleep at night. The mind stays up day and night trying to figure out how to do that. You need to stop that. Mindfulness, now we're going to the next level. First you watch, and then you say, hey, I need to do something about this. Okay, all right, well don't fight with your mind. Don't try to fight with it. Don't get mad at it. Just understand there's a reason it's doing. Buddhists always talk about working at the root. I keep taking you back to the root, all right? What is the root of non-mindfulness? It is the fact that your mind has all these interesting things to say, all right? And you are paying full attention to them instead of living your life. You're living your mind. Do you understand that, all right? How do I stop doing that? By watching to see why the mind is doing what it's doing. And I told you why. It is doing it because you have stored the data, that stuff in there. You didn't process it. We used to call it gestalt in the 70s, right? Gestalting it. It made it all the way through. It finished. It was done. You follow me? It made it past. When the Beatles went and saw Maharishi, he told them, everything is passing through the universe. It's just passing through the universe. Light, everything is just passing through. It got stuck inside of you. You didn't let that event pass through the universe. I don't know if that's across the universe. I don't know if that's where it came from. But he used to teach that. He taught that, right? That you just see these thoughts that are stuck inside of you. You stop them on their journey through the universe, right? Because you couldn't handle them. You weren't comfortable with them. Relax and let them go. They're trying to continue their journey across the universe. Isn't that beautiful? Right? And so you start practicing that. You start doing this. And you do it with everyday events that are happening to you on a regular basis. The little ones, I call them low-hanging fruit. Right? The ones that you're just causing yourself trouble, nobody else is causing you trouble, right? I say there's this litmus test for low-hanging fruit. If I let it go inside of me, would I have to do anything about it outside? If I let go that he beeped, is there anything to do outside? Then why are you giving yourself so much trouble about it? If somebody didn't say hello and you don't know why, right? No, if they saw you or didn't see you, let's say you let that go. Is there repercussions? No. I mean, if they're mad at you, you'll find out. Right? I mean, obviously this is not the time to find out because you're guessing. Does that make sense to you? Like you're causing yourself trouble. You're causing yourself anxiety for absolutely no reason, almost all the time. So now we're saying how beautiful mindfulness is. First, it solved my problem of how well I do at things on tests. If you take a test, by the way, make sure you're there. It really helps, all right? And basically now we're talking about changing my whole inner state to where I can enjoy my life, where I'm not down on myself all the time and causing all these troubles. So that's a big one, that the everyday events that are happening to you, give yourself a break, will you? Okay? If you eat bad food, you're going to get sick. If you let those thoughts be created inside and get all involved in them, one, you will miss the moment that's unfolding in front of you, the next moment, because you got caught in the last one. Follow me? And the second thing is you will make yourself sick, won't you? You will. You'll be scared. Oh my God, what a mess you make inside. Let that go. Then the second, that's one big one, is the everyday events that unfold in front of you. Every second you have the right to practice mindfulness. It is not something you do on a meditation pillow. That's, when you do meditation, they say, did you do your practices today? You've heard that term? That's why they're called practices. It's like going to the practice court in tennis. It's not the match. The match is right here. Everyday life. Every single second. Do you understand that? You're present. Come on, pay attention. Pay attention. All right? You drive, like we talk about driving. How much better did you do when you were present driving? A lot better, right? You're going to be doing that much better inside if you bother to understand there best be somebody in there paying attention to what's going on as opposed to someone who's not. It's really weird. I can't even think about it. That all of a sudden somebody cuts you off, you go, you jump in the back seat. No, you don't get to do that. How many times inside did somebody cut you off and you jumped in the back seat? You know what I mean by cut you off? Somebody said something, somebody did something, and that was your reaction to freak out. Take your hand off the wheel and God knows what you said. Do you understand that? Ever lose it? Look at me. Have you ever lost it? You ever thought about what the it is? Yeah, that's a pronoun. It's got an antecedent. Okay? That's what we're talking about. You're supposed to be present. When you lose it, your consciousness gets all lost in all this messed up energy, and then you come back, don't you? and you look at the mess. Okay. Now you see, this is serious, isn't it? All right? Mindfulness is about a way of life. It is about life itself. It is about the quality of everything you do, the quality of the experience of the quality of your life. So the first is the everyday events. I'm not going to talk too much about it, but I got a big one on the second one. Just bear with me. There's another big one in there when you pay attention. You're going to find out that it's not just how you deal with the events that are unfolding in front of you now. Learn to let go. What should I do? Relax. Just keep relaxing. I swear to God, the answer is to relax. Just like yoga, relax, okay? It's inner asana. It's an inner asana. When the events start and you notice your mind doing it, right? You're saying, but I can't stop my mind from doing it. I know you can't, and you shouldn't. You should relax in the face of what your mind is doing. You relax. It's not about your mind. It's about your relationship with your mind. Do you understand that? You're in there. Your thoughts start, just relax. Just relax and lean away. Just lean away, right? And you're going to find out, oh my God, it changes so fast. To get involved, you have to lean into it. If you relax and lean away, you get distance. And then you get time. And all of a sudden somebody says something and the reaction's in slow motion. And eventually you look at it and say, I don't think so. There's no way I'm going there, right? But before you didn't have time, right? You just, okay, so this is all part of that. Now what is this other big one? You're going to start to notice what I talked about before, that you've stored your past inside of you, but not all of it, just the bad experiences and some of the good ones, but there are way more bad ones. We can talk about that another time. I can explain why it seems like there are way more bad ones, all right? But in any event, you know there are. Okay, what do? All right? Your past, God, you're not going to like me. There is no reason to be carrying inside of you the things you did not like in the past. They are over. That's why we say they're the past. They're over. There is, intelligent people do this thing called cost-benefit analysis when we're making decisions, right? I want to tell you the cost-benefit analysis of carrying your past inside of you, your past experience you didn't like, right? Benefit, 0, cost, 100%. I mean, what difference does it make what your mommy did? What difference does it make whether your parents got divorced and you felt guilty about it when you were 6? What are you doing carrying that in there? Of what relevance does that have? I'm yelling at you. Or I'm scolding you. No, I'm asking you a question. Of what relevance does that have to the moment that's unfolding in front of you? The answer is nothing. All it's going to do is distract you and cause all kinds of problems. There is no benefit to continue to store inside of you the events that happened in the past that you did not like. In a moment, I'm going to stop, right? And you're going to get to ask questions. Any one of you that know a benefit that you would store what happened to you when you were 5 years old and you're 55 now, and you have nightmares about it and it keeps coming back up, what? Of what use is that? Right? And all of a sudden you realize you're doing a totally destructive thing to yourself. What do you mean I'm not doing it to myself? Yes, you are. What do you mean? When it tries to come back up, what do? Give me a minute. No, don't talk like that. No, I can't handle, you know I can't handle that. Stop it. You push it away, don't you? You have hands in there, don't you? You push it back down. Leave me alone. All right, I'm all right now. No, you're not. Okay? You push it away, right? Ready? Stop it. What do you mean? Let it go. You don't want it in there. I'm telling you, you can, I know I went pretty far for an hour here with you guys, all right? It's getting serious, right? There's only one reason that stuff is in there. You put it in there, you kept it in there, and you keep it in there. It is not that there's super glue in there. All right? I'm serious. There's no tar paper, there's no super glue, there's nothing like that. There is your will. You have will in there. And you have the right, if you want, to keep things in there, impressions. Why you would keep bad ones, I have no idea, nor do you. It's just that no one ever talked to you about it. I would highly advise letting them go. And you're going to find out it's like a weight of 7 billion pounds gets taken off of you. And so you start to do this when you're conscious. Something comes up, you feel a weird feeling, you have a weird reaction to what somebody said. You hear me? And you look at it, and I'm asking you to check, is this from your past? Is it really about what that person said? Or is it what that person said hit what your ex-husband said? And all of a sudden your ex is talking in there. Anybody listening? Okay. then I would highly advise not carrying that in there, right? It's a meaningless thing to carry inside yourself. It's totally self-destructive. And so you learn to let it go. How? Learn. That's all I'm going to tell you. You learn everything else. You learn calculus. Oh my God. Right? You learn to play difficult instruments. You learn all kinds of things. So learn this. Learn to not carry that stuff inside of you. Learn to let it go. Imagine how much more beautiful it would be if you didn't have that in there. And you could just interact with life. It's called beginner's mind. It's part of mindfulness. Right? Ever heard the term beginner's mind? That every situation that you're having is the first time you had it. And all of a sudden it's exciting. It's, oh my God. You hear me? There's no expectations. There's no judgment. There's no comparing with the past, right? It's just a new experience you're having, and you fully imbibe that experience. So that also is mindfulness. So mindfulness touches psychology. It touches athletics. It touches music. It touches art. It touches school. It touches everything, doesn't it? Okay? It is not something you do on a meditation pillow in the corner for 15 minutes. But it is that also, right? Because you're practicing. You're practicing letting go. Some people say to me, I can't meditate. That's a lie. What do you mean? They say to me, well, I sit down and my mind is just talks and talks. It won't let go, and it's just one thing and the next, and it goes on. I kiddingly go down and pranam to him. What are you doing? I said, that was really high, what you just said. You were watching your thoughts. You don't usually watch your thoughts. You usually get all caught up in your thoughts. So even what you call a bad meditation is good. If I go on the tennis court and my coach is hitting me balls, and today I'm not good with backhand, right? And I just did really bad on the court because he kept hitting backhand, right? I shouldn't have gone, right? Because I did really bad. Just asking. That was a bad practice, wasn't it? No, that's a good practice. That's a good practice because I needed that work, didn't I? And if I don't do that work, I will not get better. And if I do that work, I will get better. There's no way you don't get better. Do you understand that? That's what learning is about, all right? So if you sit down and you watch your mind and it doesn't stop, the fact that you can tell me that you watched your mind not stop is mindfulness. Comfortable? All right. So this is mindfulness. It's a very great thing, isn't it? And it touches me to the depth of my being to realize, I love the university. I'm so proud of the university. Right? Such an honor to live in this town where this institution is here. I've always felt that way, right? It's like now you have a mindfulness project. Oh my God, right? You have an arts and medicine center. You have a center for spirituality and health. You have a center of integrated medicine. Well, you are great, right? You are serious people. So, but a mindfulness project, now that you understand what mindfulness is, right? That's a real gift, isn't it? Right? And yes, they will teach you techniques. There are many techniques, there are many things. It doesn't matter. What matters is that someday you wake up and say, Lucy, you got some explaining to do, all right? I got some work to do. Not on my husband, not on my boss, on me. Correct? All right. Very good. Thank you. Very good. Now, they wanted me to do a half hour of question and answer, right? Well, I stopped purposely. I never did an hour talk in my life. I mean, these people are here feigning that I actually stopped in an hour, you know? I was being very mindful about the whole thing. So, if you have questions, we can ask some questions. Yes, sir. Name? What? Oh, go ahead. The green shirt right there. It's all right. Right there. Lou. Say your name so I get to know your name. It's okay. I'm doing it.
My name is Lauren. When you talk about the past not being beneficial, you're not talking about completely forgetting your past, because I see a benefit in terms of empathy.
Of course.
And in the classroom, I think that can be really powerful.
Absolutely. I'm not talking about forgetting anything. I'm talking about processing it completely so it's not stuck and didn't make it through you, all right? I see a stream, the way I see life, I see a stream, a river, and it's flowing toward the ocean, right? It is either going to go into the ocean and merge with the ocean, and that's great for the stream and it's great for the ocean. You understand that? And it's a constant process that things are coming in through your senses and they're merging back into your being, right? They're not getting stuck in your mind. That's equivalent to putting a dam so that the river can't go into the ocean. All of a sudden you have to maintain the dam, right? It floods upstream, it's got drought downstream. Dams are serious things. You ask anybody, you know, like you got to maintain them forever because you tried to stop a natural force. That's what we've done with our minds. Not because we wanted to learn. It's not that you don't sit there and say, oh, I want to remember this, right? You sat there and said, I can't handle this. I can't handle this. I don't want this coming closer to me. That did not happen. Do you understand that? That event, no, he didn't say that. No, this person didn't die. No, this didn't happen, right? We don't want it to come closer so it touches the whole of our being so we have the full experience of what it is. Do you understand that? And so it gets stuck in our mind and causes serious problems. Someday you will find out that the Bible says, for everything there's a season, a time for every purpose under heaven. Every experience is teaching you something. Birth, death, good people, mean people, beauty, every single thing is a teacher, correct? And you have the experience. Once it comes in and merges with you, it becomes part of your being. I use it's a beautiful question you just asked, right? Especially in an educational facility, right? We don't want to forget. It's not that we're not learning things, right? If I go there as a young 5-year-old and touch a stove and burn myself, there's two ways I can take that, right? Either I'm afraid of stoves, I don't cook, I don't have anything, I'm raw, I do raw, but for the wrong reason, all right? Okay? I'm a neurotic mess about stoves. How did I do with that? Terrible, right? The second is I got burned. I guarantee you I will not touch that hot stove again. I will never think about it again, but I can use stoves, right? It became part of my being. It became integrated inside of me. I don't need to keep it at a distance and let my mind get all neurotic about it, right or wrong. That's true of every single experience. So it's not that you don't feel it. It's not that, it's just, I don't know what to tell you. It's beautiful. Everything's beautiful. Not beautiful giggly, right? Life is an instrument. Your heart is an instrument. And when things come in, it plays different notes. What's wrong with that? What's wrong with it? I always think, it's so funny, I give a lecture, is like one of the most powerful emotional pieces that any of you have ever heard is a funeral march. Dum, dum, da-dum, dum, da-dum. Oh my God, is that sad, right? Chopin wrote it. It took one of the great composers to capture the beauty, I can use the word beauty, the depth and beauty of the sadness of loss, right? Why are we not willing to hear that? Why are we not willing to experience that? Doesn't mean it's not sad, but there's nothing wrong with that. So we fully experience the moment and they make us wholer. All right, thank you, it was a beautiful question. All right, who else? Up here?
Hi. Is this on?
Yes, it's on. What's your name?
It's a profound question. So,
What's your name?
Brenda.
Brenda.
I love what you're saying, and I understand it. And I've decided that I'm a hoarder. I'm a hoarder, for sure. But one thing I have a question about is regrets. And maybe it follows along the same line of what you're saying, but
Yes.
I struggle with regrets and wanting to correct them. Do you have any?
Yes, I do. You're all asking very deep questions, but you have to listen carefully if I give you a deep answer, right? Regrets have no meaning, they have no purpose, they will destroy you. Anything that destroys you has no meaning or purpose for your benefit. And if you walk around regretting and guilt and fear and all this kind of stuff, you become worse. Do you understand that? Like literally, if I do something and I hurt somebody, in high school I hurt somebody, all right? I'm sure I did. I'm sure we did. So, you do things and you hurt somebody, but it's stuck in me. It's stuck in me, right? So now what's going to happen, I'm telling you, is I can't be totally kind to somebody else because I'm afraid, because I feel these regrets and I might hurt them. Do you understand that? I can't. It's messed me up. It didn't make me better to be guilty, did it? No one ever got better by being guilty. No one ever got better by having regrets. It is a psychological illness. There is a reason you did what you did. Do you understand that? That you feel regretful about. I would rather have you deal with that reason, let it go, and forgive yourself. Okay, I had a problem, I had a need, I had insecurity, mommy was bad to me, and I took it out on this person. Do you follow me? But I've now worked that through. I always tell people this. This is how you deal with guilt and regret. Are you ready? Listen to me. You sit yourself down, and you honestly and earnestly ask yourself, would you do it again? If the same situation unfolded, given the awareness and consciousness that you have now, would you behave the same way? Would you do the same thing? All right? And I'm assuming you're going to look and say, no way would I even think of doing something like that. I'm not like that anymore. Well, then of what purpose is the regret or the guilt? It has to do with the person that used to be that's not here anymore. You learned what you needed to learn. You have now changed to the core of your being. Let it go. All it's going to do is hold you back. So don't divinize regret and guilt and that stuff. Say, oh, well, I'm a better person because I feel sorry for what I did. All right? You are a better person if you got rid of, transcended the reason you did it, and then move on. You have the right to learn. Do you understand that? I'm back to the calculus class, right? Am I embarrassed when I walk in that class? I don't know calculus. I don't want anybody to see me. I don't want anybody telling me, right? It's like, I don't want to learn because I admit that I didn't know. I should have known. What are you doing? You're here to learn. You're here to grow, right? But if you make it a psychological problem, the fact that you had to learn, how about if I say that? You learned from that experience, didn't you?
Yeah.
Right? Okay, then what's wrong with that? Okay.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. It's a beautiful question.
Hey there.
It's on.
Hello.
What's your name?
I'm Zach.
Hey, Zach.
Thank you very much for this talk. It was very beautiful. So I'm a senior and I'm preparing to go into graduate school along with many other of my classmates. So I was just trying to think and ask you for some suggestions of how to be mindful in preparation for grad school, or looking into the future,
Yeah.
so to not get caught up in that that film in my mind from the future.
Yes.
But then to give myself space to have that too.
Yeah. It's easy. It really is everything I talked about today, right? Is basically life is unfolding, and in your particular life, graduate school is coming. Somebody else's marriage is coming. Somebody else's job is coming. Somebody else's, whatever it is. That's what life does. It's been doing it for 13.8 billion years. Okay? It's unfolding. Do you understand that? Don't think you're doing it, right? You understand that? So this is where life has led you, and this is where life has led, right? So the first thing you do is say, it's not a matter of whether I like it or don't like it, right? I'm going to enjoy this process. Don't go to graduate school so you can get out and get a job. That's disgusting, right? Go to graduate school so you can go to graduate school, so that you can learn, so you can have the whole experience. These are precious experiences. You understand that, right? So that's how you do it. It's like your mind is going to make you neurotic. That's what it's going to do. It's a think about this, think about that. No, tell yourself when you wake up in the morning is, I love what I'm doing. If there's a part of you, by the way, if there's a part of you that doesn't love what you're doing, I don't care. There are all kinds of parts of you, right? The part of you, I want to ask you a question. I'm going to sit down and give you a meal. You haven't had this meal before. You take a first taste, and I say, do you like it? And you say, give me a minute, let me decide. If you have to decide, I beg you, decide that you like it. Why? If you like it, then you like it. Then it's fun. Then it's exciting. You tell people how nice it was. You enjoy eating it. If you don't like it, then it's disgusting. And you wish you never went there, and you'll never go back there again. And right? Which one's better? No, I'm just asking. If you have a choice of having a good experience or a bad experience, why would you choose to have a bad one? So you sit there and start to learn to say, I love graduate school. I love that this class is so hard. I love that the professor's hard to understand. I just, in as much as possible, enjoy the experience of your life. Is that fair enough?
Sounds good. Thank you.
I hope you heard that, though. So it's a beautiful question. It's like, it's your choice whether you like something or not, isn't it? So why would you ever choose not to like what's happening? It's reality, all right? Like, I'm serious about the past. You get to a point with your past, I want you to be able to say, I love my past. There's not a single thing I would ever change in your past. Well, why should I say that? Because there isn't anything you will ever change in your past. So if you have a choice, and since you're the one who's choosing, I love my past. It was great, right? It was just great. I grew up, my mother was an alcoholic, and my father was that, right? I learned so much. What an amazing experience I had. I wouldn't want to miss that for anything. Oh, and I loved my divorce, the first one. All right, the second one wasn't so good, but the first one was, learn to make it lighter in there, will you? All right? Have some fun. You're the only one in there. Do not make hell of that. All right. Who else? Anything else? Back here, all the way in the back. Oh, we have somebody right there? All right, very good.
Hi, my name is Lee, and I've been reading research that says every thought you have releases a negative or positive chemical, which eventually can make you ill.
Very good.
And is that what you were alluding to at one time?
It does. What you went down to is the neuroscience of it, right? You brought it down to the medicine, right? To physiology, is when you have thoughts, what I said was there's a reason your thoughts are being created. That's even at more of the root than what you talked about, right? There's a reason your thoughts are being created, and that is you stored all this junk in there. I'm serious. It's kind of funny, but not so funny. You hear me? Okay? You stored all this stuff in there, and it doesn't want to stay in there. It's not comfortable. Just like you have an immune system. You have an immune system. You get foreign matter inside your body. All kinds of stuff goes on. White blood cells, this, blah, 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 right? And it tries to get them out, right? Your mind is way more brilliant than your body, isn't it? That's why we have science. That's why we do all, your body didn't know how to put itself in a rocket ship and fly to the moon. Your mind did that. Your mind is way more brilliant than your body. Well, your mind has a system that doesn't want that junk in there either. Do you understand that? It's trying to purify itself. It's trying to throw this stuff out. It's not stupid. Get it? All right? You won't let it. You literally won't let it. You push it right back down. All right? So the answer is, the root is that, and you're right. Once that comes up, and your thoughts start doing that, there are all kinds of physiological reactions, such as the chemicals, and tension. I told you, there's tension in your body. I tell you, this is funny. I like the way you talk, but it's not so funny, is it? It's serious. This is the quality of your life we're talking about. All right. But it's nice to know it can get that much better, isn't it? Right? All right. Anything else? You got a young lady, Lou, there's a young lady over there, and a young man in the back. Yes, I am.
I've been trying to practice.
What's your name?
Lori.
Lori.
For like a month and a half, and I started reading The Power of Now every once in a while.
Good.
So, well, my trouble is I see the thoughts. So, he says focus on them and feel or see them, but I still don't know how to. You're saying just let it flow, step back. I feel like I don't know how to do it.
I know. So what I taught you, what I said, is very simple, right? You see the thought. You have a tendency to do something about it. Have you noticed? Right, and you're trying to figure out what should I be doing about it. I can't. Is the mic not on? It doesn't seem to be going through the system.
Is that working better?
There it is. Okay. No, I heard you, all right? What I'm saying is there's a tendency to think, we're doers. That's what we're taught in the West. If something's wrong, do it, fix it. Do you understand that? That doesn't work here, all right? When you see it, relax. I swear to God, no one can hear this. Once you hear it, you're going to come to me. They do it all the time. Say, oh my God, I got it. When you see your mind creating the thoughts, instantly, the only thing you do about it is relax. If you need to relax your shoulders, relax your chest, relax your butt, fine, you can do it physiologically. But inside, just relax, just relax. Relax and release. There's nothing to do about it. They are not going to hurt you. Thoughts can't hurt you. Do you understand that? Sticks and stone can break my bones. Thoughts can't do squat. They're just thoughts. They're like clouds in the sky. They hurt you because you resist them. They hurt you because you get involved in them, right? And if energy is flowing, if wind is blowing by me, that doesn't hurt me. If I try to stop it from blowing by me and try to hold a 4x8 plywood, that's a full-time job and I get tired. It can hurt me, can't it? It is the resistance to the thought that creates the tension and the problems, not the thought. So when you see the thoughts being created, let Mickey's voice in there say, relax, relax. And you'll realize there's room in there. You can relax. Lean away from the tension. Lean away from the thought. That's all. That's all you have to do. Don't fight. Don't fight. Relax. And you've just opened up, right? If the water's having trouble flowing through a pipe, right, and the pipe gets all uptight, then it gets tighter, right? The pipe needs to relax and open up so more volume can pass. You need to make more room. That's all you're doing, is creating room inside so that this stuff can pass through. And then it won't hurt you. If you're not constricting it, it will just come and go. Even these big things that you've carried your whole life, they'll just go. They pass. Okay? Very good. Thank you.
Thank you, Bob.
It's on now.
Robert Brahma, thank you for expanding my now. And the question I have is contrasting mindfulness with the power of intention. Let's say, for example, the late Wayne Dyer, more recent book, Power of Intention. So contrasting that with the idea of mindfulness.
Yeah. So what he's asked, there are some people who teach, and I'm not going to get into the whole thing, that you create your universe. And that what you should do is decide inside with an intention how you want things to be. I don't teach that, okay? I don't even care whether you create your universe, because if you are creating your universe and doing it based on what you want and what you don't want, and how else would you choose? I don't want to be in it. Do you understand that? Okay? In other words, if you still have wants and not wants, and you can't honor and respect that the universe is a phenomenal place and you're supposed to be learning from it. Like when I walk into a classroom, I don't have the right to tell the professor what to teach me. I just admit it, I don't know calculus. I better shut up, you hear me, and learn. If you're busy walking in there saying, but I don't learn well that way, don't teach that way. And when I did algebra, you teach it off, no, you don't get to do that, right? As far as I'm concerned, this is me, you don't get to do that out here, right? Life is unfolding, you are a participant in it. The first thing you do is embrace it. The first thing you do is feel it. The first thing you do is welcome the reality that is unfolding in front of you. Then, if it hits something inside of you that causes a disturbance, that's your problem, not life's problem. If you don't like the fact that Saturn has rings, don't go yell at Saturn. All right? Just learn to let go. So you asked the question slightly differently, right? You asked intention. Mindfulness is your intention. It's not like there's two things, right? Somebody else's intention is to find a husband or find a wife. That's because they're not okay. You understand that? Believe me, the husband and wife will find you if it's meant to. Life will unfold. It doesn't mean you're not participating. It's just that you're being in the moment and people will be there and things will happen. Believe me, the whole world happened. You weren't here, right? I don't know how to tell you. You weren't here for 13.8 billion years after the Big Bang. It used to just be hydrogen gases, right? And it made all this. What part did you have in that? I dare people to sit there and say, right now we're having an experience. How many other things are happening everywhere else that you have nothing to do with? Like 800 billion, zillion, quillion. Well, they're going on by themselves. And you're perfectly willing to let them. You don't even do anything about it, right? Then this moment in front of you is also going on by itself. It is part of creation. And the first thing you do is embrace it, imbibe it, and let it touch you, right? Then you interact with it. I always teach this. It's not passive. I'm not teaching passivity, right? Once you are present with it, you will see there's a part you're supposed to play in it, and it will always be service. It will never be trying to take what you want, because you don't have a want anymore. You're so filled with joy and fullness, right, of the experience of life, that when things unfold in front of you, it's more of a, how can I help? How can I serve? How can I told everyone, the highest state is every moment that unfolds in front of you, you are completely open to it, and then you look to see, is there a reason this is here? It took 13.8 billion years to get here. It took me, whatever it was, for me to be there with it. It's a match made in heaven. How can I serve? What can I do to lift this moment? It doesn't have to be big. It could be a smile. right? Or it could be literally helping something, or it could literally be that you find yourself at a table with global warming. How did I get here? I don't know, right? Lift it. Wherever you are, be present and do the best you can to serve what's unfolding in front of you. It's no more a question of what do I want, okay? And so anyways, all I can say is your answer to your question is intention, from the Buddhist sense, and mindfulness are not different things, all right? Your intention is mindfulness, all right? And once you are merged in that, and you practice that intention to be present, to let go of yourself, to let go of all that noise, right? You will find you know what to do every single time. It is so obvious. Do you understand? Like, I go back to music. Like the arts, Plato said the arts are the pinnacle. Why? Because real art comes from the place we're talking about. That's where the great master, I mean, Beethoven was insane, right? But he was a master. Like when he played, oh my God, the music drove him crazy, right? Mozart, same thing, all right? It's like they were crazy everywhere else, but you put them in that music, right? And that's why we call them masters. They were completely present, right? Art is the pinnacle because it's not, you're not doing it for yourself, it's doing you. You're losing yourself in it. So all of your life should be art. Every single second should be you expressing and experiencing. It's not about, I'm not okay. Now listen to me. It is never about, I'm not okay. How does everybody else need to be for me to be okay? Please, did you hear that? Because that's how we live in it. I'm not okay in here. I made a mess. How does everybody else need to be? Even the weather. Better not rain tomorrow. All right? How does everything else need to be for me to be okay? That's a non-starter for you and everyone around you, right? So it becomes, I'm going to let go of the mess I created inside, make it perfectly livable in here, nice in here, and then the moments that unfold in front of me, the first thing I say is, wow, look what happened next. Okay? It took 13.8 billion years to get here, and look at it. It used to just be hydrogen gases. Now it's somebody yelling at me. Wow. Wow. Far out. All right? That's your starting position. All right? And then the question becomes, now that I'm present, is there something I'm supposed to be doing about this, right? It's not about I'm not okay with it. Is there something I need to be doing? I am okay. Now, is there something I can do to raise the moment, to raise what's unfolding in front of me? That answer you? All right. You have 1 or 2 more minutes. Anybody else? Okay. Thank you so much. It was a pleasure. Hi. How is everybody today? I'm very honored to have been invited to meet with you all today and to give one of the keynote speeches for the 2nd annual Mindfulness Day of the University of Florida. I love that the University of Florida does things like this. They have some amazing centers like the Center for Integrative Medicine and the Center for Spirituality and Peace and Arts and Medicine and Mindfulness. You have it progressive for a Southern university. It's very amazing. It's very, very beautiful. So today, I would like to spend some time taking down some of the erroneous concepts about mindfulness, such as tying it to meditation, tying it to yoga, and I'm a yogi, and tying it to New Age type stuff, because it's not. Diet doesn't get tied to meditation and New Age type stuff. Exercise doesn't get tied to diet and New Age type stuff. Athletes exercise, athletes watch their diet. People who have careers, you should see, I was in the business community, you know that, CEOs, they're real into health freak and running and doing stuff to, why? Because you find out that you perform better at every single thing you're doing. Your relationships are better, food tastes better, your sports are better, your studying is better, everything is better, your career is better if you get yourself together. You know that. And we're not all together, so I'm not judging anybody, but it certainly helps to have a decent diet and to give at least reasonable amount of exercise to yourself, and you all know that. Doesn't mean we always do it, but you know that. Somehow, in the midst of all this, for a very long time, the concept that how we use our mind and what we do with our mind is a private affair. Get away from me. You can talk about my diet, but you don't go talk about what I do with my mind. That's me. Well, it's not true. You are not your mind. You are the user of your mind. Your mind, you say it's your mind, all right? So you will come to a point in your growth, and I'm not talking to you as as new agey spiritual stuff, as a person, as a human being who is trying to live the fullest life that you, got an echo going on, trying to live the fullest life that you can and to do the best you can at whatever you chose to do. I have no interest in talking to you about what you choose to do, what career path you're on, what relationships you're in, anything like that. But I would love to be able to think, I would love to feel that what we talk about today and what you end up doing with it can help you be the best at whatever you chose to be. Because that's what we're talking about. It's your choice what you choose to be, all right? And you have a lifetime to do it. But there are things that can help you be that. And one of those, like I said, the most simple level is you take decent care of your body. If you don't take decent care of your body, it doesn't do well, does it? And when it's not doing well, you can't do well. You can't go to work, you can't concentrate, and so on. I want to talk about what mindfulness really is. Right? It gets pigeonholed into different things. It really is about saying, can we have a discussion about what you're doing with your mind? There, that's mindfulness. Be mindful of what you're doing with your mind. So what does that mean? You raise your hand, you say to me, well, I use my mind to study. I say, wonderful, great. I hope you do well at it. I use my mind to do research. I'm into research. Wonderful. That's a great thing to do with your mind. I use your mind. I love to read and learn about history, and whatever it is that you are doing with your mind, that is fine. I don't want to touch that. I want to talk about what your mind is doing when you're not using it. Because wait till you see. It's like the great secret, the white elephant in the room that nobody wants to talk about. All right? I am telling you there are two ways that your mind can operate. One is willfully, consciously. You have the ability, I won't make you do it, but you have the ability right now, if I tell you to visualize a boat. Okay, do it. Visualize a boat. Bigger, bigger, bigger. Cruise ship, Queen Mary. It does it, doesn't it? All right? Write down, I won't make it too complicated, write a 14 on a blackboard and a 2 and multiply them together. It does it. You have the right to willfully use this thing that you have in there called the mind. I'm not a neuroscientist. He's a neuroscientist. He wants to know why that works and what's the mechanism, right? If I ride a bicycle, I just want to know that it rides. I don't care about all the gears and the chains and how it gets worked. Especially a car. Let's take a car a little more complicated. I don't need to understand the whole thing. Just give me a car that works, all right? You have a mind. We will let the scientists figure out exactly the mechanisms through which it operates. That's fine. But I'll tell you a secret. You're the one who's operating it. Do you understand that? Like, they're all excited if they have you go in. You know, they do these what are they, not CAT scans, what are they? MRIs? MRIs. The MRIs where they have you think about something. Oh, Harvard, everybody's researching this. Princeton do a lot with this. Have you think about something, and they can do a brain scan, right? MRI, and see a color change in certain areas and probe in. Isn't that wonderful, right? How come they're not trying to find out who you are that gets it to do that? They're all proud and they get Nobel Prizes because they traced it down as to what neurons are doing what and what's the relationship. I want to know who you are that made it happen, much more than I'm interested in the fact that they can measure the darn thing. Do you understand that? You're in there. You have a mind, don't you? Nobody has to prove that to you, all right? And you have the ability, within reason, to make it do what you want. Yes, Einstein's was more powerful. Well, Arnold Schwarzenegger, I shouldn't use him anymore, but anyway, Schwarzenegger has more powerful arms than I do. So Einstein had a more powerful mind. The truth is you have a mind, you have a human mind, way beyond the possum or the armadillo. They can't do what I just told them to do. You understand that? You have a brilliant mind. I like saying that to everybody. Do you understand that? You have to stop thinking Einstein had a brilliant mind. You have a brilliant mind. You have a brilliant mind. You are of a species of which you have the human mind, right, that was dropped down onto a planet where there was nothing but nature. Nothing. There's nature. And your mind figured out how to dig up metals, take sand, and turn it into silicon, and build a rocket ship, get in it, and fly to the moon. Wow. You think dolphins are great? Let's see them do that. I'm serious. Your mind is so incomprehensible brilliant, isn't it? So don't own it as, oh yeah, but I left back at algebra once. So what? There's another animal on the planet that can do algebra. You should be proud of yourself, all right? You have a brilliant mind. The question is, how are you using it? When you willfully use your mind, and I don't need to prove this to you, you know you are in there willfully using your mind. You can make it do what you want it to do. That's wonderful. That's beautiful. You can learn to be better at that. Part of school teaches you to use your mind, doesn't it? teaches you to work with it and become stronger with it, and so on. I am interested in what is happening to this thing called mind, this brilliant object, this mechanism, when you are not using it. Because I spent 45 years watching very diligently in the laboratory. You're going to understand what the laboratory of soul research. That's in here, watching what is going on in that mind. And it's kind of like a horror movie. I'm afraid to tell you what I found. Right? When you are not using your mind, believe it or not, it still goes. It's the great secret. When you're not using your arm, it sits there. When you want to use it, you do something with it. If you woke up in the morning and your arm was doing this, right, you wouldn't say, well, I guess I'm supposed to be a painter or a politician, right? You would go to a doctor. You say there's something wrong. I'm not telling my arm to move, and it's moving, right or wrong. Why don't you do that with your mind? How is it that when you're not using your mind and it's still in there creating thoughts that you have no control over? You don't even know why it's doing it. Why do you tolerate that? What mindfulness is, the body of study of knowledge of mindfulness is that. Is first become, forget this be here now stuff, forget concentrate on what you're doing. We'll get there in a second. Be mindful of what your mind is doing or you're going to be in big trouble. What is your mind doing? It's really very, very easy. I guarantee you it'll take you 10 seconds. You won't like what you see. What you're going to see is that when you are not using your mind, when am I not using your mind? When you're driving down the road, going somewhere, when you're sitting on the potty, whatever you want to call it, right? All the moments you take in your life where you are not consciously doing something, I guarantee you there's something going on in your mind. What's it doing? Oh my God, I can't believe I said that. I'm so embarrassed. That was ridiculous. If I hadn't said that, I was doing... Does anybody's mind do that? Answer me. Okay? What is the benefit of that? The answer is zero. Do you understand that? How about this? You're driving down the road, you're going on a vacation or driving to Miami, and there's a sign, a billboard on the road, and it reminds you of a relationship that you had with your father or your mother 25 years ago, and your mind starts reiterating the discussion as if it was going on now, or your ex-husband or whatever it is, and it's still going on there, isn't it? What in the world is that? Of what benefit is that? Very few of you in business, in relationships, in life would allow a cost-benefit analysis to take place of which the cost is 100% and the benefit is zero, and you would still do it. Correct? That's what I'm telling you that is. The cost is 100% and the benefit is absolutely zero. All it does is cause you trouble. It makes you neurotic. It makes you nervous. It makes you scared. Do you understand that? So why are you tolerating that? That's what mindfulness is about. And it is about to tell you, that does not have to go on in there. That is not a natural function of your mind. Wow, that's nice to tell you. Do you understand that? That's not a natural function of your mind. Your mind doesn't have a natural function, no more than your body. Your body has low-level functions that it carries out. But it's not like your body's supposed to be walking somewheres. You decide where it goes. It's not like your body's supposed to be running or jumping or eating. You do this, right? Your body is your servant. You are the master, and you were given this body so that you can carry out your life and your career or what you want to do. Isn't it true? It's your body. And when it doesn't do well, you take it in for a tune-up, all right? Your mind is exactly the same. Your mind is a gift that was given to you by creation, by God, call it whatever you want, it doesn't matter. It is a gift that was given to you. You wouldn't, if it stopped working, you wouldn't know what to do, all right? It's just a built-in computer that has memory, it has logic, it has capability of analysis, and you get to do with it what you want. If it is misbehaving, if it is not being still when it is meant to be still, if it is talking about things that have no benefit, for example, anything that happened 25 years ago is of no benefit to be bothered by today. Who wants to admit that? I know you don't know how to do it, but I'm challenging you. Anything that happened in your childhood, come on, you're grown up now. Anything that happened in your childhood, I don't care how traumatic it was. I don't care how tough it was. I don't care how unfair it was. It's over. Do you understand that? It's over. If it is still going on in your mind bothering you, that's a problem, isn't it? The event is not a problem. The event was a problem when it happened. Absolutely. We all want to help and make sure that doesn't happen. I'm not saying we shouldn't deal with things, right? But if it's 25 years later and it has not happened for 25 years and it's bothering you, it is affecting your current relationships, it is affecting your career, it is affecting your happiness in life, right or wrong, for absolutely no benefit, zero, no reason. And so a wise person who wants to have a full life wakes up one day and says, yes, I have a mind, and I have not paid attention to what it's doing. Right? I haven't owned it. I haven't driven it. A car is a great thing, but not while you're not steering. Do you understand that? Right? You get in that car and just start pushing the pedals. Nothing good's going to happen, is it? You get inside that mind and leave it on its own to regurgitate the things that bothered you, to think about things you wanted that didn't happen, right? What is that doing for your schoolwork? Ever read a book and find out that if you turn 4 pages, you better go back because you didn't read a darn thing? Yes or no? You know you have. What was your mind doing when it was supposed to be reading? I'm telling you, it was thinking about what happened 20 years ago. It was thinking about what might happen 20 years from now. You understand that, right? The Beatles song I like, will you still need me? Will you still feed me when I'm 64? They were 20 years old when they sang that song, okay? So what are you doing worrying about what's going to happen to you when you're 64 years old when you're 20, right? It is of no benefit. You work with it along the way. So mindfulness is about this. It is about finally waking up one day and saying, I'm the boss. I'm in here. I have a mind. I can do better with it than letting it be a horror show, than letting it scare me all the time, than letting it remind me of everything that ever bothered me, than letting it worry about what will happen 10 years from now or 20 years from now. That's not fun, is it? Right? If let's say you're going to give a talk in your class, all right? A lot of people, the mind gives a little trouble before that, doesn't it? Oh my God, what if I forget my lines? What if I can't say, oh, I feel so stupid, I don't even want to do this. Does anybody's mind ever do that to them? Doesn't that help you perform better? No, it doesn't. So I could just sit here for the whole hour and a half and remind you of how ridiculous it is what goes on inside your head, right? It is worse than an arm that won't stop doing this. At least I can paint, all right? And some people sit there and say, they want to sit there and say, but it's beneficial to go over this stuff. Yes, if something happens to you and you make a mistake, sit down, look at it, pay attention, learn from it, then for God's sakes, not for the next 20 years. Why did I do that? If I hadn't done that, this would have happened. Do you understand that? You can't tell me there's a benefit. There is no benefit. It's just that you haven't learned how to work with this thing called mind. So now you get into, all right, let's say I want to work with it. There are 2 ways to work with it. Of course, there's thousands of different techniques in each of these 2 ways, but there's 2 basic ways, in case you're interested, because like I said, I spent a long time with this, right, to work with this. One is to say, shut up. I did it for years. Shut up, mind. Shut up. Stop talking. It doesn't work. Do you understand that? Or do mind control, or do concentration, or do lots of different things that try to make it so that the mind's tendency is to talk, bring this stuff back, create commotion. It does create commotion in there, doesn't it? Right? What I'm going to do is suppress it. Let's just call that's the first method. It's called suppression. Many people, what they call meditation, is suppression. That's all they're doing in there, all right? Then they come back and say it didn't work. Of course it doesn't work. Freud taught you that. Suppression doesn't work. If there's an energy that needs to express itself in the universe and you push it down, it's coming back up. Do you understand that? Or you will have to fight with it to stay down your entire life, and that's what you did with your chi, with your energy, right? And you wear yourself out. I always tell people, it is not your body that makes you bend over and get older. It's the weight of what you're carrying with you, all right? I've met plenty of older people that are very, very healthy, all right, and very vibrant. You build this stuff up in there, and it bears you down, doesn't it? It weights you down. So one, and I mean, I'm into yoga, so you all learn mantra. I like meditation. I love mantra. I'm not saying not to do these things, but we're going to spend an hour and talk about the proper way and the wrong way. There are people who use mantra to beat the heck out of the rest of their mind, so it starts to shut up. All right? So that the mind's giving me trouble, right? Garom, 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 God, God, God. It's like, it's a sledgehammer. Do you understand that? That's not the proper use of these things. So one way to try to deal with it out of any of these different ways you want, and I didn't mention drugs, please don't. That's what they try to do, drug the damn thing, right? You know, my impersonation of a drunk. If it's misbehaving and it's giving me trouble, if I drink enough, it'll go, I don't know I did that. Maybe and it can't talk, right? So there, you won. Laugh. But it explains so much. There's only one reason a person drinks. There's only one reason a person does drugs. Because their mind's bothering them. Do you understand that? All right. I don't want your mind to bother you. I am telling you, I am assuring you that no more than that arm has to go up and down. There's something you can do about it, right? That mind does not have to bother you, ever. I'm challenging you, ever. It can be your best friend. It can just be there to serve you like it's supposed to, like your car. You don't have to worry what your car does at night while you're sleeping and go out and hitting people, all right? Your car behaves. You put your hands on the steering wheel, you tell it where to go, and it pretty much does it, doesn't it? Your mind should be exactly like that. It is your servant. It is a tool. It is an appliance that was given to you, an inboard. It's the most personal of all personal computers, isn't it? Okay? So one method is what I call the suppression method. And it's a broad spectrum of, I'm going to use will to stop this thing from disturbing me by pushing it down, quieting it down, doing that. I don't advise it. It's a struggle. Actually, there's 3 methods. I'm sorry. I forgot one. The one that everybody does. Because not everybody does that one. They don't even bother. Here's the one. My mind is bothering me. Oh, poor mind. What are you bothering me about? Sally's talking to Fred. What should we do about it? Right? We could go there and tell Fred that Sally doesn't like him and so that he won't talk to her. Like, you can try to make the world around you become the way your mind needs it to be so it fits the garbage you have in there so your mind stops complaining. That was a long sentence. Did you get that one? Do you understand that? All right? I feel insecure. People don't like me. Well, I could change my look. I could wear different things. I get a new car. I get a Ferrari. I get people like Ferraris. No, but not everybody likes Ferraris. I get to beat a Beetle because then they like me. Like, your mind does that, doesn't it? It tries to figure out how the world needs to be so that your mind stops bothering you. And it will tell you incessantly what you need to do, what everybody else needs to do, and then it will tell you how to try to manipulate and control situations. Those are dirty words, but we do that, don't we? How to manipulate and control people, places, and things so that they are unfolding in a way that doesn't bother your mind. So that's what I call suppressing life. You understand that? You're taking your will and trying to control and suppress things outside of you so they don't disturb you. I know it's embarrassing to talk about, but if we're going to, if you're going to work with your body, you got to be willing to deal with the rashes, right? You can't go to the doctor and say nothing's wrong, right? You show it. Are you willing to admit that we do that? That's what most people do their entire lives. So that's one. Suppress and control the world around you, attempt to anyways, so that it unfolds in a way that doesn't disturb your mind. And maybe even mind likes it. I'm not saying there's not things that happen that don't make you feel positive, but it's because the mind likes it. That which turns you on turns him off. That which turned you on yesterday freaks you out today because you learned something else. Do you understand that? Things are not in and of themselves pleasant or unpleasant. It depends on your state of mind. It depends on how your mind is. So first, suppress and control the world. Doesn't work. Oh, did I forget to tell you that? Maybe you already know that. No one could ever control the moments that are unfolding in front of them enough that their mind is not disturbed. The act of trying to figure out how you want them to be is disturbing. Right or wrong? I don't know if I want this or I want that. I can't. People all the time ask me, how do I make decisions? What are the decisions? I don't understand. Because what you're trying to decide is how do I need it to be so that my mind stops bothering me? Okay? So you're not going to win that way. The second is you try to control the mind. You're not going to win that way. The third, which is what I'm here to talk about, and is the essence truly of deep mindful work, is to sit there and say, my mind's broken. Why? It's not its natural state. My arm's going up and down. I shouldn't get a brace. You understand that? That's a heck of a solution, right? Or inject it with cortisones or something to stop it from doing that. There's a reason it's doing that. I want to find out the reason, and I want to fix it. Then I never have to do anything ever again, do I? It's healthy. Your mind is supposed to be healthy. Why is your mind doing this? Why is it always talking? Why is it always complaining? Why is it always saying the way things need to be for it to be okay and then figuring out whether it likes it or not, et cetera, et cetera? The reason is Because in the past, you have had experiences, every one of us. Some of them were pleasant, and some were unpleasant. We'll do it in 2 seconds, all right? Right or wrong. You've had different experiences ever since you were born that unfolded in front of you. So the world does. It unfolds in front of you. It's been here for a long time. And you get to see part of it. Not much, but you see the part that's in front of you. And sometimes when it comes in, it causes a sense of pleasure, a sense of peace, a sense of niceness, right? It's enjoyable. And sometimes when it comes in, it's not enjoyable. Okay? How about if I tell you there's nothing wrong with that? If a rattlesnake coils up in front of you and starts rattling, that's a freaky experience. I'm not saying a mindful person feels close and picks up the snake. No, that's not mindful at all right? A mindful person notices that that's not comfortable. That's a very uncomfortable thing. Versus if a butterfly comes and lands on your arm, ooh, it's kind of cute, isn't it? It's kind of sweet. That has a nice vibration. The Buddhists talk about everything has its nature, right? The rattlesnake has its nature. The butterflies have their nature. Some people have their nature. Weather has its nature, correct? Everything has a vibration, a nature. When it comes in, it causes you to feel its nature. That's life. That's what's supposed to happen, right? The problem is we're not able to handle that. We're supposed to be the highest species on the planet, but we can't handle reality. So reality is unfolded in front of us. It causes this vibration inside, and what we do is if it's not a nice vibration, we resist it. We sit there and say, I don't want to feel this. I don't want to have had that experience. Right or wrong? I do not want to have had that experience. I would like you to analyze that sentence next time you use it. You just had the experience. How do you not have the experience you just had? And that's where it starts getting sick. When you sit there and say, I do not want to have had this experience, it was not pleasant to me, then you use this very will that was meant to use your mind constructively and productively to suppress that experience that happened inside of you. And you know you do that. We have hands inside, don't we? We can push things away. So we push away emotions, we push away vibrations, we push away thoughts, okay? Because we're not comfortable with them. Where do you think they go when you push them away? Oh, they just go into Nana land. They dissipate and fly off to God. No, they don't, right? They stay inside your mind. Do you understand that? You stick them inside your mind, and they stay there, and they keep trying to come back up, don't they? That's where your dreams come from. That's, in a nutshell, I did it in 15 seconds, a little longer, all right? That's why your mind's talking all the time. And I swear to you, you study it, you'll see it. It is because you stored this stuff inside of you. That's over, it's finished. You're supposed to be experiencing reality. You can't anymore because you have all this stuff stored inside from the past that was either unpleasant, so now you didn't want to experience it. When it comes back up, you have to fight with it, struggle with it. You were married once to somebody, and it was a bad relationship. You ended up getting divorced. Fine, that's what happened. His name was Ben, right? A friend comes up to you 5 years later and says, oh, I met just the perfect guy for you. Wow, what do you mean? What's his name? Ben. No. No, I had my fill of Bens. I hope you're laughing. You just missed your soulmate. Do you understand that? That person has nothing to do with the other Ben that you have inside, do they? And you're doing it all the time, and don't kid yourself. That is where your preferences come from. That is where you are not born with like and dislike, right? They are learned experiences. What did Skinner say? Man is the sum of his learned experiences. I disagree. Your mind is the sum of your learned experiences. You are the consciousness that are noticing that your mind is doing this freaky stuff. But you are absolutely, the mind that we're talking about, that automated mind that goes on by itself, is the sum of its learned experiences. Anybody have a question about that? That's why yours are different than his. And when you learn one more experience, you didn't like somebody, now you learn something about them. Somebody tells you something about them. Go, oh, all of a sudden you like them. Yes or no? Wow, are we weird? That's pretty weird. So this learned experience thing is programming your mind. And so now your mind has this stuff stored in it because you kept it inside. So the highest thing I'd like to get all across to you is if you're having a problem with your mind, and you are, you did it. Mommy didn't do it, Daddy didn't do it. The events didn't do it. The fact that you couldn't handle the event is what did it. Do you understand that? And those build up inside. They have an energy of their own. They're trying to release. Like I said, now we're into psychology, aren't we? That's all the psychology. That's Freud. That's Jung, right? Freud sat there and said, on dreams. Go read Freud on dreams. He's going to say what I just said. He just won't call it mindfulness. It was a long time ago. He's going to sit there and say, you've stored stuff inside your mind, And at night when you go to sleep, you're not there to push it back down. And so it's going to come back up. You're going to have wish fulfillment dreams. You're going to have various types of releases. Let's call it releases of your suppressed energy. It's right, it is. And then what's brilliant, it's really amazing to look at, is that Jung came along and said, you know, there's stuff that you've suppressed so badly that you won't even let it come up in your dreams. You wake up and you have nightmares. The minute it shows up, you freak out, right? And your mind is so brilliant. And the unnaturalness of having this stuff stored in there is so unnatural. It's so, sick, right? It's such an illness that your mind has the ability to turn those thoughts into symbols. And Jung's claimed they were universal symbols, and he's right? Turn them into symbols, and all of a sudden you're dreaming of a hawk flying overhead, coming down to pick up a snake, and you wake up and you're weird, and you're getting cold sweats, and you can't understand why. Well, go talk to Jung. He'll explain it to you. That's your father, and he's abandoned you, and yes or no? All right? That's how brilliant all of this is. So mindfulness is not a cubbyhole thing about New Age, meditation. It is about your life. It is about the quality of your life. That's what I'm talking about. So if you have held these things inside, and you have, they are going to come back up. When you're asleep, they're going to come back up as these dreams, aren't they? Come on, you know that, right? What I like to call the mind that goes on by itself, those are your waking dreams. The one that's sitting there saying, oh, I don't know why I said that. If only I had done, right? That's regurgitating all the stuff from the past. It's doing the same thing as when you're asleep. It's just doing it while you're awake. Did anybody get that? You understand that? That's why your mind is always talking. For the exact same reason that when you go to sleep, dreams, when they need to, will release themselves. That same energy, in yoga we call them samskaras. They actually gave a name to it for thousands of years ago, right? That stuff you stored inside, that's stuck inside of you, that's not happening out here anymore, fair enough, is called a samskara, or a blockage. If you hold that energy inside, and we do, it is going to try to release. You didn't like it when it happened, so you are not going to like it when it tries to release. So now you are at war with yourself. Now the mind became a battlefield. I swear to God, it makes me want to cry. It's like a healthy person knowing what a beautiful relationship you can have with a healthy body, right? And here you have someone who's smoking and eating and drinking and doing all kinds of stuff, and their body the poor thing is so sick that it's ruining their lives. They can't live their lives. They can't keep a job. They can't do anything. Well, you feel compassion for that. When you understand that if you store this stuff in there, it will not stay in there. It's going to come up. There are going to be things that remind you of it. Somebody's going to say a word and you'll freak. Someone's going to look a certain way or wear a bow tie or part their hair a certain way. You understand that? Or a smell. You could walk into a kitchen where somebody's cooking and you start crying because it reminds you of mommy or something like that. Or crying because you didn't like your mommy. Right? It can go either way. The point is you are carrying a minefield. Not a mind field, a minefield. Right? We talk about all the mines that got left behind in different countries, right? You are carrying a minefield inside your mind, are you not? Every single thing that ever happened that bothered you, you kept inside because you weren't able to experience it and let it go. Weren't whole enough, grown enough, mature enough, call it whatever you want, right? I was not ready enough to handle what happened to me. And because I couldn't handle what happened to me, I pushed it down so I didn't have to experience it fully, and now it is stuck inside of me. And it is constantly trying to come up, and it comes up as those background thoughts. Just try to sit down and meditate. People come to me sometimes and say, me, I tried to meditate, I can't. What does that mean? What does that mean, you can't? I tried to play tennis. I hit the ball into the net every time, but it doesn't mean I can't, right? I mean, you try, you do it. What do you mean you can't meditate? Well, I sit down, and my mind won't stop. Well, there we go. Now, actually, you want it to stop. You're willfully trying to get it to stop, but it doesn't, does it? All right? Only once in a while. Why doesn't it stop? I told you. I swear, what we have just shared is the most important thing you will ever learn in your life. You are running around with this stuff stuck inside of you. It is trying to release, and when you sit down quietly and don't distract yourself with a whole bunch of other things, guess what's going to happen? It's going to come back up. I've had people tell me, I was doing better before I started meditating. No, you weren't. No, you were not. You just didn't notice how bad it was, okay? And you don't want to notice, do you? You understand that, okay? So what mindfulness starts from is, one, I have a problem with my mind. Not my intellectual mind. We call it the intellectual mind, the analytical mind, the impersonal mind. See why you call it that, right? Very much I like the word impersonal mind. That's not cold. It means you are using your mind for what it was meant for, as a tool, right? The personal mind is the one that's full of all the garbage that you personally couldn't handle. And so now it's all stuck inside the mind. They disturb each other. I'm going to stand here. I'm in trouble because I'm in college. I have to prove myself, but I won't. I'm going to promise you that you take your IQ, right? Then you get your mind together, and you take your IQ again. There's no comparison. Remember that advertisement, here's your mind on drugs, right? And they crack the egg, right? Here's your mind on you. It's like you can't possibly be doing your best if you have that garbage going on in there. Even if it is not coming up at that moment, it is underneath there using your consciousness. Well, if it's not coming up at the moment you're taking your SAT test, right, it's because you're pushing it down subconsciously. That energy could be used to take the test. There's no way you can argue with me, right, that a radio station sounds better when there's static. No, you can't. The music is not going to sound better. You can't do better. There's no way you're going to argue with me that your mind does better with that junk going on inside of there. It does not do better. It is of no benefit, zero. And someday you wake up and say, I got some work to do. I have work to do. And I'm telling you, if you do this work, you will literally get smarter. If you think you're not good at math, if you think I was never good at this, if you don't have good reading comprehension, I'm telling you, the more you release this obligation that you've done to yourself to suppress this stuff inside of you, holding it down there, you will find life is more enjoyable. Food tastes better. Relationships are deeper. And you're smarter. Can you understand that? Because you released it. So it's fun to talk about. All right? It's a very important thing. So the question is, fine, there's the foundation of mindfulness. The foundation, I always used to complain that people go to school and they throw answers at you. Now let's start with questions. So I have some place to put it. Now we have a reason to talk about techniques. We have a reason to talk about what usually sells as mindfulness, right? Which is too late. People try to meditate, it doesn't work. What do I do about this? First, are we honest? Is this going on in there? I'm telling you, it runs your life. Do you understand that? It runs your life. Except I usually put an I in there. It ruins your life. That's all it is. It will ruin your life. It will ruin your relationships. It will ruin your career. It will ruin everything. You'll go to work. You'll enjoy the job. Oh, my God, I got the perfect job. It's unbelievable. My mind just say, come back in a little while. Let's have a talk, right? Because there's no way that something's not going to happen at that job that isn't what your mind wants. Do you understand that? It's going to happen. Your boss is going to criticize you, or somebody else is going to get the raise, or you're going to want to do something and they didn't give you the day off. Do you understand that? It is going to happen. It is literally impossible. It is statistically impossible that the world in front of you unfolds the way you want it to. Uh-oh. Did they take Santa away? Right? I have a whole thing on this. Will you understand the world unfolding in front of you has 700 billion forces that are making it be what it is? You're smart people. We're in a college here, right? There are forces, cause and effect. There are all kinds of things that have happened that consolidate, coordinate together, interact together, and they make the current moment. That's why the weather is the way it is. That's why people are the way they are. That's why every single thing is the way it is. None of it's because of the way you want it to be. It's like you're bringing into the moment of physics and chemistry and psychology the reality of why things are unfolding. You're making up based on your past experiences how you want it to be, and you're literally saying it's supposed to be that way. Do I have to go any further? Will you admit that's kind of far off, right? Things are not going to be the way your mind wants, ever. Every once in a while, something will line up. It will not stay, will it? It doesn't ever do it. It disappoints you. I didn't think you'd be like that. You get in a relationship, it seems so perfect till they do something or don't say something. There is no way. It's not going to hit your stuff. If the stuff is in there, something is going to stimulate it, isn't it? Right? This is why life is so hard. We're talking about solving all of life's problems, right? Because the truth is, life is unfolding in front of you. You're given this wonderful opportunity to play with it, interact with it. It's a sport. Do your best with it. You understand that? I said you can do whatever you want. Doesn't mean you'll succeed the way you want to, but you get to interact the way you want. The problem is you can't now because you're scared to death that something's going to hurt you. Come on, right? You're scared to death that you won't get what you want or that you'll get what you don't want. And if you walk through life that way, you're so limited. So mindfulness says, I don't want to live like that. If I have but one life to live, heck if I'm living it that way. You understand that? I'm not going to run through life trying to make every moment be the way I want it to be because I can't handle reality and then get all upset and disappointed and then store more stuff inside of me. So, I mean, one wise people sometimes wake up and say, you know, somehow I land on the planet Earth. Maybe you know how you got here, but I don't. Or I just, whoop, I didn't take a rocket ship. You know, look how long it took to get to Mars. How long did it take you to get to Earth? Somehow you land on a planet, didn't you? All right? And you're going to be here for a certain number of years. The time between your birth and your death, you're going to spend on the planet Earth. I'm going to tell you a secret. The planet Earth is a really, really, really nice place compared to Mars, Jupiter, Saturn, Mercury, or any exoplanet that we've found so far. You understand that? You won the lottery 7 billion times over. There's people, places, things, roaches, spiders. There's so many exciting things going on the planet Earth. Every moment of your life there's something going on, isn't there? Right? And look how we live, as though it's a disaster place and we're scared to death of it. Mindfulness says, put an end to this. You don't have to live like this. So how do I work with this? What is the real way to stop this tyranny of the mind? By going to the root. The Buddhists say you work at the root. The root is you stored this stuff inside of you, and now it's trying to release. Don't sit there and learn how to push it back down. You have to learn to let it go. And that's the true work of mindfulness. You can do many things in between, but I'm telling you, you want to get somewhere, and you're capable, doesn't matter how old you are, doesn't matter rich or poor, you can have a beautiful life. You can be here anyways, you might as well have fun, right? You don't have to be scared, right? You know what it should be like? There's a mindful person wakes up in the morning. I'm back. I wonder what's going to happen today. I can't wait to see. It's like a mystery tour. It's like Christmas morning. Something will happen, won't it? And I'll have fun with it. It's going to be exciting. And at the end of the day, you put your head down and go, wow, that was fun. And you go to sleep. And when you wake up in the morning, it's a new day. You're capable of living like that. And you will do better at your career. You will do better at your relationship. You'll do better at every single thing you do because you don't have these problems. Right now inside, we have serious problems stored in what we call the personal mind. We are then trying to do everything we can with our lives to make it more tolerable to live with ourselves. Trying to find relationships that make us feel better about ourselves. Trying to find jobs that prove that we're worthy of something. Do you understand that? How many people go to a job not to get to... Well, let me ask this way. Look, I was CEO of a public company, all right? I had 2,300 people reporting to me. I can assure you, how few people come to work to get the work done. Do you understand that, right? I don't know if people go to work. They go to work so they can earn the money and have a nice weekend. They go to work so they can prove themselves that I'm better than somebody else. They can go to work so that they can climb the corporate ladder and be, you understand that? Well, you know, there's a job to do. There's a widget to put on an assembly line. And don't you want to do it nicely? No, I couldn't. If you pay me to not come, I just take the money. It should be the opposite. It should be you're doing your job and you love doing your job and it's kind of fun, right? And they pay you. Why are they paying me? I swear to God, that is what it gets like. In other words, I'm going to move on. If you are not okay inside, and you know what that means, if you are not okay inside, then life is a battle to try to create situations that will make you feel better and avoid situations that will make you feel worse. Can you relate to that, right? When you are okay inside, life is fun. Life is just, oh my God, there's not more fun that could possibly exist, all right? Every single moment is an exciting challenge to do your best, to bring your A game to everything that's going on, right? It's like sports. I shouldn't talk about it now, but anyways, sometimes we win, sometimes we lose. The question is, did you enjoy the game? Did you get better because of it? If you played a competitor that was better than you, that's wonderful. You learned. You understand that? It's the same thing with relationships. If you're in a relationship and it didn't work out, that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. Did you learn? Did you grow? Are you better now to move on with your life? Every single moment of life is a learning experience. Do you understand that? The point that I get across to people, I say to you, you are always better, I'm in trouble, I'll step back. You are always better off having had an experience than not having had it. You are a wholer person because you had an experience. Do you understand that? If you didn't ever travel somewhere, then you didn't have that experience. If you didn't ever fall in love, you don't know anything about it. You're a novice. You're nothing, right? When you have an experience, when life gives you the gift of an experience, and you experience it, and you learn from it, how can you tell me you're not better off than you were before you had the experience? It can't make you worse off unless you resist the experience. And then it can really make you worse off, can't it? If you don't like the experience and you resist it, it can ruin your life. But the fact that you got to have the experience is really special. It's a special thing. It's a thank you. This gives you a taste of how a mindful person lives. But you can't just decide to live like that, because then you're going to suppress the issues you have inside. Right? You're going to come to me and say, but what if somebody dies? But what do I do if this happens? Right? You didn't catch on yet. Right? Get yourself together. Be happy inside. Be whole. Feel complete. Right? Feel love pouring up inside of you because you don't have this junk stored inside of you. Then go out and bring that into this world with enthusiasm, with passion, with love. Right? And interact with every single thing that life brings before you with a sense of honor and respect and gratitude for the right to be able to do that. You have the right to live like that. If you're a student, love going to school. Don't go to school so you can graduate and then go get a job and earn some. What, are you crazy? School is one of the neatest, especially college. That's got to be one of the neatest experiences you'll ever have in your entire life. Do you understand that? Somebody's paying for you to go and listen to smart people tell you stuff. You don't have to go on the web and read. They sit there and tell you. Well, what do you do? Oh, I went to sleep. Like, come on, right? You get to the point, or you, I can't wait to get out and meet my boyfriend. It's always about something else. The reason is because you're not okay. And if you're not okay, you can't enjoy what's happening to you. You have to be looking for the thing that will be okay, that will make you be okay. So we have the groundwork down. The problem here is that you're not okay inside. If you were okay inside, your life would be totally different, wouldn't it? You understand that? Like relationships. You're wrong if you think a relationship is supposed to make you feel love. You're wrong if you think a relationship is supposed to make you feel needed and whole and important. That's wrong. That's wrong. You're supposed to feel love to start with. That's natural. Love is part of your being. You're supposed to feel whole and complete within yourself, right? Tremendous openness and power, right? Now go out and share it with another person. That's a relationship. Don't need and then get upset because they didn't give it to you. You understand that? There's no way, this is my view, I've done it for 45 years, right? There's no way that if you can't fix what's wrong with you inside, that someone else is going to do it. They don't even know you. They got their own problems. Do you understand that? Do you understand that? Nobody can go in there and get rid of the stuff that you decided you're going to store inside. What you're basically asking, though, is even though I have this inside of me, make me feel better, tell me you love me, be my friend, et cetera, and that will make it easier for me to live with the junk I have inside. No, I want so much more for you. You understand that? I want that you feel whole and complete inside, that you don't have that junk inside, and that you can come out and share your being. And imagine if two people are doing that in a relationship. Right? That's beautiful, man, right? So this is what it means to get high. That's what mindfulness is about, not drugs, right? It's about learning that you're a great being. There is greatness inside of you. You're a human being. It's the highest species on the planet, right? You have a brilliant mind. You have a beautiful heart that's capable of experiencing beautiful things. You broke it. You broke your heart. Somebody else didn't break your heart. You stored all this garbage inside every time something bothered you. Now your heart's full of pain. Do you understand that? It doesn't take much for you to feel pain in your heart, does it? Somebody doesn't say something or says it wrong, they're not the right intonation, or doesn't say hello. Oh my God, why didn't they say hello? I never did anything. Okay? That, I'm telling you, every bit of this is because you stored that stuff inside of you. If you get rid of that stuff, your whole life changes. So that's why mindfulness as a way of life, right? Mindfulness is your life. It's not even a way of life. So how does one go about, first of all, is it possible to literally get rid of all this stuff in there? Yes. I'm telling you, there is no super glue in there. I swear to God, that is not the nature of things. There is nothing gluing that stuff inside of you. If it is inside of you what happened 20 years ago, it is because you are holding it inside of you. Do you understand that? And they talk about neural pathways. That's absolutely right. You are carving those neural pathways willfully. You are holding it together. The minute they try to change and release, you push them right back down. They can watch it with their CAT scans, with their MRIs. Do you understand that? You are in control in there. You're just not paying attention. So the answer is always very simple. Once you find the root of the problem, you don't deal with it at the leaf, you deal with it at the root. The root of the problem is that you couldn't handle the experiences that unfolded in front of you, period. And because you couldn't handle them, you stored them inside, and now you can't handle anything because everything reminds you of these disturbing problems. So when it's said and done, though it's hard to swallow, sometimes you'd rather just meditate or do a mantra, not enough, not even close, right? You have to sit there and say, I don't want this stuff inside of me. I don't want this stuff inside of me. All right? I don't want to run around with this stuff inside of me and then worry that something's going to hit it or oblige the person I'm in a relationship with to make sure I told you we don't talk about this sort of thing. I told you I don't like when you do that. Wow, okay. Right? And you're going to find out eventually that you can get rid of this stuff. How? It's very, very simple. You won't do it, but it's very, very simple. You just decide, I'm not going to keep this stuff inside of me. The cost is too great. And what's going to happen is it'll start to come up. When? You'll notice. It comes up all the time, doesn't it? Right? You don't even have to go find it. Do I need Freud to show me where it is? No, you don't need Freud to show where it is. It'll come right back up in your face, won't it? It comes up all the time, every day. If the car in front of you is driving a speed that you're not comfortable with, watch what happens inside of you. It's not okay, is it? And all of this anger or disturbance or frustration comes up inside because the person is driving 10 miles an hour below the speed limit, right? Do you really want to live like that? And have these very simple, everyday things ruin your life? Because they are affecting your entire life. And so you decide, I am going to be a rare person. I am going to devote my life, not an hour, 15 minutes here or there. I'm going to devote my life to letting go of this stuff that I have stored inside of me. And I'm telling you, if you do that every day, all the time, mindfully, that's where it comes from. You stay conscious enough to realize, yep, there's somebody driving in front of me 10 miles over the speed limit. I have a choice. I can't pass them. I'm not telling you not to pass them. If it's got a dotted line, pass them. I told you can do what you want, right? But you can't pass them. Now you have a choice. Destroy your life over it or have fun. It's your choice, okay? Like if they really do it really slow, because I like to drive fast, shh. All right, and they really do it really slow. I say they're 15 miles on. Come on, go for 20. No one's ever done 20 yet. Come on, don't win the prize. 20 below the speed limit. Go 5 and a 30. Come on. And it's better than what he would be doing otherwise. Do you understand that? So if you have a choice between using your mind constructively, productively, or leaving your mind to screw up your life on its own, I'm telling you, you're better off. And that's part of mindfulness. That's where affirmation comes from, isn't it? What is affirmation? Instead of letting your mind do the garbage it would do by itself, because it's trying to release the pollution you got in there, okay? Start saying positive things with your mind. Just say, oh, God, it's such a nice day, right? It's, look, I get to go a little slower. Just try it. And you're going to find out that you went from point A to point B and you're better off. All right? You will always be better off to constructively use your mind than you will be to allow it to destroy itself. And that's what it's doing, right? So depression, all these different problems people have, you can work your way out of these things. They're all due to the fact that you stored this garbage in there and life gets heavy. You don't have to do that. So what it means to live a life mindfully, I'm not talking about a mindful practice, but the practice of life as mindfulness, is to sit here and say, I woke up in the morning, I still got stuff in me, okay? There will be less when I go to sleep than when I woke up. That's all. How much less? None of your business, right? But there will be less. I have a lifetime to grow. I have a lifetime to release this garbage that I've stored inside. So the number one first step is no more goes in. That's your highest mindfulness technique. Once you understand, you do understand what I said is true, isn't it? That's a problem, isn't it? Okay? It causes big troubles in your life. No more goes in. I mean, no more goes in. There will be no situation that unfolds in my life from this moment forward that is disturbing. I admit it to you. Sometimes life is disturbing, right? Okay? And sometimes it's pleasant. Very good. But when it's done, I have a rule. If it's done outside, it's done inside. Makes sense, doesn't it? Okay? Because otherwise you're going to put more of this junk in there. So you learn, and again, what can help you? Meditation can help you. Put aside 15 minutes in the morning, 15 minutes in the evening, do some breathing, whatever it is. What's that about? Reminding yourself that you're in there and that you want to free yourself, that you don't want to be bound by all this garbage. So it's like meditation is like tennis practice. If you want to play tennis, there is no way that every time you go out there and hit balls, you don't get better. Do you understand that? Okay? Because you're building your muscles, your hand-eye coordination gets better. It's the exact same thing with meditation. Don't think that a good meditation means you went to samadhi. Please, don't do that. All right? Or that you got completely peaceful. A good meditation is that you sat down and said, this is my time to remember I don't want this stuff inside of me. And what happens during those 15 minutes, it doesn't matter. Right? Like some people come to me and say, I can't meditate. Why? Because I sit down, my mind just won't shut up. And I kiddingly touch their feet. Oh my God, it's so holy. What do you mean that's so holy? You noticed that your mind didn't shut up? Wow, that's witness consciousness. I mean, that's a great state, that you noticed that your mind is talking when you didn't want it to. Guess what? It's always doing that. You're just not paying attention. All right? So this doesn't have to be a struggle. This is not a warrior taking on mindfulness. This is a person who, and look how logical it is too, right? People say spirituality is beyond reason. No, it's not. It's the most reasonable thing in the world, all right? To not do it is completely unreasonable. To literally do a cost-benefit analysis and always pick that which is 100% cost and zero benefit, that seems pretty unreasonable to me, all right? So you sit there and say, I will put aside time, if that's what you choose to do, in the morning and evening, watch your breath, do whatever technique you want to do, but what it's really about is remembering that you're in there and you're the boss. Do you understand that? And that right now, you're not doing so well at working with the mind because, and you will see, when you try to work with the mind, you're going to see it's nervousness, it's anxiety, it's fear of the future, it's problems with the past. That's what the mind talks about, right? It worries, it's just releasing the garbage. You need to apologize to your mind. Some people say, you get mad at your mind, work with your mind. No, you apologize. You told your mind, I don't like this. I'm going to store it inside of you for the rest of my life. Now I want you to figure out how everybody needs to be for me to be okay, even though I did that. Get to work. Okay. All right? But your mind said, okay, on the job, 24 hours a day. Don't bother sleeping because you won't be able to. Right? Do you understand? So you basically sit there and apologize to your mind and say, I am so sorry I told you to do this. It's not your job anymore. It is not your job to figure out how everybody and everything, including the weather, needs to be for me to be okay. Do you understand that? It's not my job. I'm okay. I'll deal with it. And then as you sit down and meditate, you watch your breath and so on, you'll notice that your mind still has residual problems because of what you did in the past. Fine. Every time you sit, you let go of more. Every time you find that seat of consciousness where you sit inside and you're okay with the fact that the mind is still disturbed. You don't want to wait until your mind is not disturbed for you to be okay. I need you to be okay even though the mind is disturbed. You're not your mind. You're the consciousness that's watching your mind. You can be perfectly at peace. You can have a bad hair day. You can have a bad heart day or a bad mind day. How your mind doing? Oh, it's crazy. It's really funny. You should see what it's saying. Much healthier. Understand that? So you learn, that's what your practices are about. You learn to sit inside in your seat of consciousness, realize the mind is broken, the automated mind, the personal mind is broken because you broke it. I gave you the talk because you stored all that stuff in there. Then during the day, it's not enough to sit. During the day, you're going to have constant interactions that are bothering your mind. Do you understand that? Not just the big ones. I told you, these tiny little things, right? Something you can't find your keys. Oh my God, what's going on? Who took my keys? Oh, there they are. You just created a commotion, an ocean of commotion inside your head for absolutely no reason. Be conscious. That's what mindfulness is. Be conscious and realize, okay, I'm sitting on a planet, spinning in the middle of outer space, and there are these keys, and I can't find them right now. Let's have fun. Okay? Enjoy the experience you're having. That's what you do, right? You work with yourself to do that. So if what happens is stuff comes up, and this is the big one, stuff's going to come up. If you don't put new stuff, I would warn you, if you don't put new stuff down there, the old stuff's going to come up even faster. It's a LIFO stack. You study inventory management. last in, first out. Okay? So when you stuff the stuff down to happen today, it's pushing the other stuff further down. That's why it comes up at night. If you don't put the stuff down today, you'll be walking around. You'll say, hey, Sally, how are you? And Sally will walk by. Your mind will go, did she not hear me? What did I do? Why isn't she like me? This is like high school. In high school, nobody said hello to me either. Oh, okay. Wow. All right? And what you do, if you're a mindful person, is you say, wow, you've been down there that whole time? Since high school? Oh, my God, I'm so sorry. It's like locking a kid in the closet. That's not a nice thing to do. All right? Come on up. You are welcome. You are welcome. But it hurts. Good. No pain, no gain. It went down with pain. It's coming up with pain. Do you understand that? It's not in there except that it bothered you and you couldn't handle it then. It's still bothering you even 20 years later. You don't want that in there. Do you understand that? And there's nothing, it's not like out here there's competition. In here there's no competition. You don't want it in there, let it go. And you learn to do this thing I teach called relax and release. R&R. Get yourself some R&R, all right? You relax and release. When it comes up and it's not comfortable, the right action is not to push it back down. The right action is not to make the person stop what they're doing, run after Sally. Did you hear me? Why didn't you hear me? Or decide you'll never talk to her again. She'll see what it feels like. No, that's not right action. Right action is, I can handle this. I couldn't handle it in high school, but I've grown since high school. I can handle this. I can handle this. Somebody didn't say hello. It's a big thing. I know it's asking a lot, all right? And you relax. You in there. Not your mind. It won't relax. You relax. You just relax and give it the room it needs to release. It needs room. Just like water needs room to flow, right? And you give it space inside. And I'm telling you, it will release. And then it'll come up again next time, and eventually it won't even come up. You'll say hello. Just they don't say hello, so okay, you'll walk around your business. It doesn't bother you. Kind of neat when you start seeing that stuff's gone. It can be gone. And as it's gone, I can't see the clock well. As it's gone, you will find that all the energy that you used to use to do this mess of suppression and control and manipulation is released. And even if you don't do yoga or know anything about it, you're going to start feeling this upward rush of beautiful energy welling up inside of you, like constant inspiration, constant love. Your heart will like have wings because the energy is coming up, feeding it, right? And you're becoming a high being, right? And you will naturally start to feel it move up through the different centers until eventually it's always coming up through what we call the third eye, through up here and out the top of the head, the sahasrara. The higher chakras open. Naturally, you don't have to know anything about yoga. I don't even want to talk about spiritual stuff like that. It will be your natural state. And all of a sudden, you'll enjoy every single thing you're doing. You won't be afraid of anything because nothing can touch you. Nothing can make that energy stop except you. Do you understand that? You have to push it back down, but you won't because it's beautiful. And now you get spiritual. Now as that energy goes up, it's so beautiful that it's called being fed from inside. You understand that? Okay? You're fed from inside instead of outside. Doesn't mean you don't have a social life. Doesn't mean you have a business life. You just take all that energy and bring it into the moment that you're dealing with. And all I can tell you is at some point life becomes so beautiful that you can't even imagine you used to complain. Are there problems? Of course there are problems. There are experiences, not problems. They're challenging. They're fun. If you're filled with love and joy inside, what do you care? Right? So this is mindfulness. This is a beautiful practice. What it's really called is life, isn't it? Right? This is called living life mindfully, living life in a whole way, holistic, truly a holistic way. Notice all we talked about was, yes, you have a diet for your body. Yes, you do some exercise. We've talked about, are you putting any attention to what's going on in your mind? Right? And the answer is no. I'm just running as fast as I can to get away from it because it's causing me trouble. Stop. Stop running. Turn back inside and cleanse. Clean this out. Purify this. Right? Clean that out, and life will change completely. So I can't tell the time. What time is it? 5:45. So about right. We're supposed to go till 6, right? Perfect. All right, good. All right. So I wanted to leave some time for you all to share with me, since I shared with you, and ask any questions or nothing else. I'd like to know whether you understand this, right? And you must admit this is a fuller aspect of mindfulness. Right? It's every moment of your life. That's what mindfulness is. Yes, sir. Yeah, anybody have a microphone that he can?
Yeah, you were talking about
Maybe. Do we have another mic? Here, use mine for now.
there's something bothering me, like I often, like maybe it's my mom playing a trick on me that like I don't want to forget so that I can, fix it in the future, like,
Okay.
So it's, and even you reflected that every experience is a learning.
Yes, it
so
is.
It's like how do you find that happy medium
Good.
where like
What's your name?
Jason.
Jason. Okay, you all heard Jason's question? It's a beautiful question. It's a very deep question. I can only share my experience. My experience is that if you are open and receptive to the experience that you are having, and you let it come all the way into you, not stuck in the mind, you're behind the mind, come all the way back in and experience it fully, right? It will have the influence on you that it was meant to have. You will never forget it, but it doesn't have to be remembered in the mind. It becomes part of your being. It's like the rivers that flow into the ocean. When that water flows into the ocean, you can't tell what was the ocean and what was the river, right? So we're talking about this is deep level, okay? I mean, when you have a beautiful experience, the sunset, here, you turn the corner and the sun is setting, right? Or you're with a beautiful person you love so much in an intimate moment, right? You don't need to remember it in order to fully enjoy it. You understand that? In fact, if you're bothering trying to remember it, you're not there to enjoy it, right? What it does is during those moments where it's so beautiful is because your mind is open. The sunset surprised you. It's gorgeous. You understand that? And there's no resistance inside of you. And you saw a spiritual experience. You sit there and say, I felt like I was with God when the sun was setting, or in this love experience, correct? It is, right? What you've done is allowed the experience to come all the way back into the depth of your being. You will never forget that. You don't need your mind. Next time I talk to you about that sunset, right? I say, oh, did you ever see a beautiful sunset? You know what you do? You go, whoa, yeah. You wouldn't have to bring it back to remember it. Do you see the difference? It integrates into your being. It becomes who you are, and it will change everything. People, that's why love is so beautiful. You fall in love, it changes everything, doesn't it? Right? You don't have to remember it. It changed who you are. It made an additive effect on you. That is also true of not such pleasant experiences. If you touch a stove when you're 6 years old, you walk up to the stove and you touch it, all right? You don't need to never have a stove in your house again. You don't need to go down, march down the street. Stoves are dangerous, right? And, you can only use microwaves. They're probably more dangerous. But anyways, right? You don't have to be neurotic about it, right? I guarantee you're never going to touch a stove again because you learned it. You're a knower of that truth. It's not a mental thing. Do you see what I'm saying? Right? It's something that became part of your being. You became wholer, didn't you? So it doesn't have to be traumatic, it doesn't have to be terrible or anything like that. It's just, and same thing with beautiful experiences. Let them touch you. Learn what beauty feels like. Don't remember it and try to make it happen again. Don't go there, and I shouldn't say this because we all do it. Don't go there at a beautiful sunset and say, wait, let me get my camera. Why? So I can remember it later. So you don't experience it now, so you can remember it later? Oh, you're good. That's what we do, isn't it? Okay? Does that answer you? Do you understand that? You will find that every single experience that you let come all the way back to you, we used to call it gestalt back in the 60s, that it finished, it made it all the way through you. It is a complete event, right? None of it got stuck. Changes your life. It's a holistic thing. It's very beautiful. Thank you. All right, who else? Come on, I want to hear from you. Is this the only mic we have? Yeah. Okay.
Yesterday I was at the barn and they had a panel of veterans talking about their experience.
Yes.
They have an aftermath of war exhibit of their photographs. It's really wonderful. So they had panel of five veterans, all different ages, who had been in different conflicts. And these are people who were in horrible situations that not of their choice. And how to, some of them had PTSD and stuff. How do you deal with that in a mindful manner?
It's extreme, but it's a beautiful question. And I have a particular person I've come to know who has had PTSD and was with the Green Berets, Special Forces and everything. And he's the most beautiful, loving, light-filled person. I said, really? You? That's what you do with your life? Yeah, I did 15 years, 5 terms, whatever it was, right? And he said, I came back with PTSD, right? And then I listened to the teachings, right? I'm not saying my teachings, but he did some, but I listened to the teachings, right? I don't have PTSD anymore. The answer is, what is PTSD? an experience happened at some time in my past. I couldn't handle it. Now, is it understandable you couldn't handle it? Nobody's judging that. I mean, of course, it's like you're a bad boy, you didn't handle it. Nobody's saying that. There are difficult experiences. Do you understand that? Right? You have a miscarriage. You have to get a divorce. There's all kinds of experiences, not just PTSD. Do you understand that? But they're life. If I could wave my wand and have them not had that experience, you know I would do that, and so would you. But there is no such wand. The experience that already happened, you are not going to change, are you? It happened. So a wise person does the same thing with this and sits there and says, the cost of carrying this inside is my life. It's the end of my life. You understand that? I can't have relationships, I can't hold a job, I can't do anything. I'm a mess, all right? Understandable, but why? I don't want you to understand. I don't want to be a mess. You understand that? You can't sit there and have victim consciousness and sit there and say, I shouldn't have had to go through this and it wasn't fair and you'd be this way too. What is that doing for you, right? It's just enabling the fact that you have a problem, all right? It's not your fault that you have a problem, but you have a problem. What needs to happen, and it is possible to happen, is you need to wake up one day and say, I have PTSD and I don't want to have PTSD. And I had an experience that I didn't want to have. I better accept that I had that experience. I had the experience. That's what I did. I'm the person who had that experience, right? And come to peace with it within yourself. Is it easy? No. Is it possible? Yes. Do you understand that? It's possible to do this. It's possible with a miscarriage. It's possible with a divorce. It's possible with mommy's death. Do you understand that? There's not a single situation that can happen to you that is not possible that you can come healthy out on the other side. And maybe even better off. Do you understand that? You go through a tough experience in life, you become a stronger person, don't you? All right? So I'm not belittling the terribleness that it means to go through experiences like that. Don't misunderstand me, right? I'm merely saying is, I want to help you. I care. I have compassion, right? I can't take away the experience. The only thing I can do is take away your resistance to it. Because reality wins, doesn't it? Right? So listen to me, whereas it's true that no one can take away the experience, it is not true that no one can accept and honor and respect that it took place and I'm healthier because of it, I'm okay because of it. That's not true. People have done it and you can do it and everybody can do it. Does everybody understand that? Right? But don't let it sound cold. It doesn't mean you don't have compassion and understanding for how difficult some of these things can be. Right? But I don't want to have so much compassion that I'm an enabler. And I sit there and say, well, yeah, okay, you're just going to be screwed up the rest of your life. No, you're not going to be. You're going to be a greater person because that's how I'm going to talk. You understand that? You're a greater person because you went through this and came out on the other side. How could you ever have another problem that's bigger than this? Kind of nice to look back and say, I'll never have another problem that's bigger than I already went through. I guarantee you, I've been through it. I guarantee you. It's kind of a lot of fun to be able to say that. All right, I made it through that one. So what? Bring it on. Okay. So that's how mindfulness deals with these situations. All right? You had a question? Jeff.
There's like two states of mind. There's the emotional mind and then there's the analytical mind or the decision-making mind.
Yeah.
When you're making a tough decision, how do you use mindfulness to separate those?
That's a beautiful question. What you basically asked me is, when I'm learning tennis and my backhand is so bad I can't get it across the net, but someday I do want to get across the net, what do I do while I can't get it across the net? Keep hitting it. You keep working with it. That's all you can do, right? You just keep practicing, and eventually you'll be able to get it across the net, right? That's my answer to you, right? There aren't two minds. There are not two minds. There's one mind. It's an appliance. It's a computer. You understand that? There's not two computers. Right? One that you do good things with and one you do not good things with. Right? There's one computer, right? You're just using it different ways. You have a mind. One thing you do with your mind is analysis, intellectual, just analytical thinking. I call that the impersonal mind, all right? Another thing you did with your mind is very personal stuff, right? You held the stuff from the past. You built this whole mind. Everybody understand that? Okay. So there's just one mind. You're the one who's doing the both. And what you're saying to me is, while you're growing and a situation comes up that you're trying to analyze, but you realize your preferences are so strong that you can't see straight. You understand that? Everything inside of you looks and says, I shouldn't do this. This is not what I should be doing. I know I shouldn't be doing this. I've already chosen I want this career path, and I'm working on this, and this is not in harmony with that. But you understand that? There's somebody in there who's got some little personal stuff going on in there, have a little trouble letting it go. You understand that? It's hitting some stuff that I know is stuff. I'm not saying, you got clear enough to where you see this is the path I chose, this is what I'm doing, and this is just some leftover stuff. And so you've asked me, what do? You let it go. Sorry. All right? So you don't play around here, right? You let it go. You sit there and look at it. What do I do if I decided to stop smoking and I want to have a cigarette? Don't. It's not so complicated, right? I always tell everybody there's this yogic, be careful, don't tell anyone, it's patent it, right? There's a yogic method for stopping smoking. It goes like this. You decide you don't want to smoke, and then there will be moments in which you want to, right? What you would do is find your cigarettes that you had hid, take it out of the pack, put it in your mouth, light it, and inhale. Just don't do any one of those things, and you'll stop smoking. Now you choose which one you don't want to do, okay? The point is, there's no way around it. If you said you don't want to smoke, then you can't do the things that make you smoke. If you said you want to let go of your past stuff that's messing you up, then this is the time to do it, right? It's not the time to do it when something didn't hit it, right? So basically, if you're in a decision-making process, people ask me that all the time. People have trouble with decisions. I don't have trouble with decisions. You can really freak out if I tell you there are no decisions. I didn't say it. Eventually, you will find out when you are clear that the reason decisions are so hard, listen to me, I whisper, I don't want to take, right? The reason decisions are so hard is you're really not trying to decide about what's in front of you. You're trying to decide what will make you happy. You're trying to decide what might screw you up, what will make you sad. And you don't want to make the wrong decision, or you won't be happy. You don't make the wrong decision, you might not be happy, right? Once you are happy, you undercut the entire mess. It's not like that. Understand that? Here's the ultimate of how I want every decision you need to make to be. I'm fine either way. Whoa. That kind of took the pressure off, didn't it? I'm fine either way. I'm 22 years old, somebody proposed to me, but I have my eyes set on a career path and so on. I'm not ready to get married, but I really love the person a lot. That's a tough decision. No, it's not. Not a tough decision at all. I'm fine with my career path, and that happens, right? And if the person doesn't wait, that's fine. I'll move on. It's wonderful. I'm full of joy and love and inspiration. I'm not full of need, right? It was about expressing my love anyways. I'm not going to lose that. Or it's fine. I'm so in love, and I get to devote myself to this relationship. And if it affects my career path, who cares? The only reason I wanted the career path was let me express myself. It really needs to come to the point where you realize, come on, guys, it's all fun. You're going through different experiences called your life, right? And there will be times when things unfold. And what's really amazing is once you take your personal self out, it really ends up most of the time, the vast majority of the time, there's no decision. It's clear. It's clear. It was my own disturbance that was making it get noisy. I learned not to talk about this thing about decisions because people don't like to hear it. But do you understand what I just said? If you are not okay, and you are trying to decide how to be okay, you're in big trouble. Because the party that's not okay doesn't know how to be okay. That's why it's not okay. Do you understand that? Okay? And you're literally going to the part that's not, aren't you? You're going to the part, but I'm so lonely. I'm so lonely. Who should I be with? Loneliness doesn't know how to not be lonely. That's why it's loneliness. All right? So you're going to the lowest part of your being to try to decide something. It will not be a good decision. You do your work on yourself on a daily basis to where you start to feel beautiful energy. I want you to understand that. I challenge you with that, right? Now you feel fear, you feel anxiety. No more ever. Just love, joy, constant upliftment of waves of strength. I shouldn't do it if we're in a university setting, but that is what the Bible means. And I'm a Jewish yogi, so I can say it. When Christ said, man does not live by bread alone, but by every word that leaveth the mouth of the Father. In other words, you don't live off the events that are taking place outside of you. You live off this spirit, this joy, this love that's welling up inside of you. Now go out and play. All right? Now go out and have fun with your life. So there's my answer to you. All right? It'll take time. You'll fall down. So what? Every mistake you make is a learning experience, right? There's nothing wrong with that. Just what am I asking of you? What's the bottom line? Will you please understand and admit that you don't want this mess going on inside of you? You don't want to devote your life to the lowest part of your being, the part that's scared, the part that's insecure, the part that's needy, right? And if I devote my life to that, that's where I'm going to be. That's where it goes. And I would like to let go of what's causing that to be so strong. And I'm telling you, and psychology, of course, is all based on this, right? It is the stuff you stored inside that you couldn't handle before that is making it a mess inside today. Do you understand that? Right? And if you let go of that stuff, so your job is to use life to let go of yourself. To lose life to let go of this. Who else? Anybody? No, you can't be that scared. So does this mean you all understand, you're ready to go and just can't wait to get out and start doing it? All right. Thank you so much. It was such a pleasure sharing with you all.